Hi, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. 3 mentally challenged women have been raped and killed within the last 3 months at near Bremen in the Bremen North District of the Eastern Region. Residents say the victims had part of their bodies removed. Residents of Near Bremen are now living in fear.
Speaking to JoyNews, Member of Parliament for Bremen constituency, John Osei Frimpong, said residents suspect the murders are for ritual purposes. He is, however, of the opinion a well-lit street would in some way help prevent such attacks by criminals.
Abodamfo a omo ye ma sabi yenuanu mu a omadwe mu ka omo ye ma omo ne nam krom omo de da monten so no omo beku omo nti omo ku omo to aso e wa bremu krom nko a.
Some wicked people have decided to kill women who are mentally challenged. They have killed 3 of them at New Bremen. This is the 3rd time. They killed one on 15th April, another on 15th May. About 3 weeks ago, they killed another one. Our checks revealed they had sex with them before they removed some of their body parts. All evidence points to ritual murder.
Ritual murder na ekoso. Na that's a keshia district security council omoshia ama na nanoma hemfo so ehia na nanoma hemfo shia na omofa adwen se krom ha no masofo ne imamfo nyina no omo nyina ka omo ho abom na omo adidwuma.
DISEC has met. Traditional authorities have also had meetings. Our pastors and churches have decided to also pray for the culprits to be arrested. Have decided to present these street lights to be the first step to keep the killings.
Abrem no district capital. Ghanaian no baby wo ha ebi ni ho. Timagina me na so se me to mako oha. Na me de ache abremu kromu. Ni ahwe ne de abobọ to kromu baby a ne enim se baby aka ne awo no. Obi entra ho no mo eni bone ni pambonfo epesum ene wo de ne bone nti kanea no ba ebebo anti ene no na mo edikan a metu a mese me de bo aman so ya hwe sa security sem no.
Receiving the items, Obrempon Amo Tretrie Ebrimhene thanked the MP for the street lights, but described it as a short-term solution. He appealed for further support to build an ultra-modern police station to help fight such criminals in the area.
Street lights. No so no etimi aboa na han eyadwuma obia ntimi enkodi abonefosem na no beboa ama etu sa ne me nyina ase.
These street lights would help prevent the criminal activities in the community. Immediately inform ECG
manager so ate ho adwuma lesanse bekunam edin hyehye na etimi aboa na etimi atu abonefosem no ase adu afiri ha enu ba ene I will
soon cut sort for an ultra-modern police station in the community to be built, which will be completed by December.
Some of the residents share their concern.
As women, we do not have strength to fight back the men when they attack us. We are pleading with the government to come to our aid.
It is disheartening to wake up every morning to hear someone has been killed and dumped.
Akwesi Dramenes reports, read to you.
Now, the Inspector General of Police says his administration is working to reduce police response time to 10 minutes in a broader strategy to improve crime fighting across the country. Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare says the service has already rolled out crime fighting strategies that are yielding positive results. He has been outlining a series of measures adopted to boost the image of the service and welfare of personnel at a public lecture on the changing phase of policing in Ghana. Erastus Asaridonko has more in this report.
We are employees of yours. That's why we are called public servants.
The lecture, organized by the Faculty of Social Sciences KNUST, was held under the theme The Changing Phase of Policing in Ghana, Expectations and the Role of the University Community.
We can attest to the fact that despite the challenges, the kind of innovation and partnership the IGP is bringing to the frontiers of policing in the country is great.
The IGP acknowledged an inherited negative public perception but indicated measures rolled out to improve the image of policing.
We own our services to you, and if you are not satisfied, you need to get on with it. So with all this, we decided also to assess ourselves from your perspective. We found that in the middle, we said we are still underperforming. We show zero partnership. We don't work with you. Also, there are issues where you see us as very unprofessional. You say we are corrupt. Thank you. We've never said that there are not a couple of people who are doing things in a corrupt way, tarnishing the image of the service. We've never said that. We are doing all what we can to handle it. But we will never accept the tag that we are the most corrupt institution in the country. It is unfounded. Because all those researches have challenged methodologies.
Dr. Dampare spoke of series of plans instituted to fight crime and a move to decrease police response time to 10 minutes.
We keep deepening the number of police officers we put out there. Now we have added the motorbikes bit to it, and very soon we are deploying almost about 2,000 motorbikes across the country. That our roads are going to be policed, the towns we see the motorbikes. And response time, we are looking at the average of less than 10 minutes. People will be there to deal with the matter for you.
The IGP called for public support for the police while assuring that personnel who perform professionally will receive the full backing of the service.
Each one of us at all the chain is appropriately empowered, such that as long as you do what is right and you do it professionally, we will have your back, and to the level that now there is a culture that everybody is arrestable, even including the IGP. So what it is that just do what is right irrespective of your rank, and you have the full backing of the whole police administration, and nobody can intimidate you.
Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Now, barring any hitches, contractors working on the Ashanti Regional Hospital at Sewua in the Bosomtwe district will soon hand over the facility to the government for use. Physical works on the 250-bed capacity hospital have been completed, awaiting provision of power supply and improved access road network to the facility. The project is expected to ease pressure on the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, Ghana's second largest referral facility, when it becomes operational. Ohemin Tewe of our health desk recently visited the facility and filed this report.
This hospital has a little bit of history. The arrangements to bring in a contractor to do 8 hospitals, including this one, started from President Komfo's time.
This is the Ashanti Regional Hospital, located at Sewua in the Bosomtwe district. It is part of 8 hospital projects funded with $339 million under the construction of Eurojet De-Invest contractors. It will be the 3rd biggest health facility in the region, next to the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital and the yet-to-be-completed 500-bed military hospital at Afari. This modern health facility is fully equipped with gynecology wards, an intensive care unit, operation rooms, delivery suites, sterilization department and medical gas plant for the production of medical gases. It boasts of an endoscopy unit, a rail service in many health facilities in the region. It has, among other facilities, a sewage treatment biogas plant, water treatment plant, power station and a maintenance department. Amir Farouk Mahmoud is resident engineer.
We are almost 100% of the progress, only remaining the testing and the commissioning. Our project is a 250 beds regional hospital located in Sewua. The floor build-up area is about 30,000 square meters. We have about 43 buildings. The area for the whole project is around 125,000 square meters.
Like all modern health facilities, the new Ashanti Regional Hospital comes with a 20-unit staff accommodation made up of 3 bedrooms each. But despite the installation of equipment, the facility is yet to be put to use. Resident engineer Amir Farouk Mahmood explains why the facility is yet to be handed over to the government.
We have a critical problem for the power. We have 2 powerhouses here in the project, but the power source is not connected to the powerhouse. Number 2 is the access road. We have a contractor for Ghana Highway Authority. They started the work, but they stopped for more than 6 months. The road is barely motorable, so for the patients and for the visitors, it will be very hard for them to come.
Health Minister Kwaku Agyeman-Manu admits there are some client obligation facilities yet to be provided by the government.
We are waiting for a few things. We call them client obligations. The client should bring road to access the facility. The inside the hospital road is part of the contract. But from Sewua town or from the major road to this place is supposed to be done by government.
So how is the health ministry ensuring the facility becomes operational and accessible to residents?
Here is virtually completed. All the equipments are in place. They are not bringing any new thing. They're only waiting for constant, continuous power such that we can run the machines after commissioning testing. And then we'll have a full-fledged Ashanti regional hospital. We have had 1 or 2 meetings with the president himself. He's putting pressure in addition to ours. Now we believe we will get some money to get these things done as quickly as we can.
The Sewua Hospital is bounded by the Infectious Disease Treatment Center, one of the 12 facilities built with COVID-19 funding across the country to manage infectious diseases. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Ohiminteria reporting.
Non-governmental organization Willing Way Foundation, in collaboration with the Ghana Health Foundation, has launched a program to rid the street of Kumasi of mentally ill persons. With the help of the Ghana Health Service and the police, the group removed 10 mentally ill women from the street of Kumasi and Ejiso on day 1 of the exercise. The inmate would be housed, fed and rehabilitated at the Willing Way Rehabilitation Center at Asawase in Ejiso at the expense of the foundation under a project dubbed Hope for the Rejected. Ohiminteria of our health desk again with this report.
The streets of Kumasi and its environs have been inundated with the presence of mentally ill persons. There's little effort from the local government ministry to get rid of those who pose a security and safety threat. In the face of this public safety failure, a non-governmental organization has taken the lead to rid the streets of these individuals with mental problems. Willing Way Foundation is providing medical care for the inmates in a well-maintained shelter, as well as feeding and clothing them.
I have never been paid for this work. Yeah, it's just a passion. I have passion to help people. So it's my passion to support those who are having a mentally challenge problem. Last year, we had about 4 or 5 people on the street who were having their babies with them. So some people called on us and we went for them. We started with the treatment and they became stable and they were able to direct us to their family. So we realized that means those people on the street, when we have a place to keep them and give them a good treatment, they will become useful to the community. So we decided to put up a small place in here so that we can go and bring only 10 females and see how the treatment will go.
The first day of the exercise proved a Herculean task for the team, made up of the police, health personnel and officials of Willing Way Foundation. The targeted persons were aggressive and hostile as they resisted attempts to move them from their adopted abode.
Some were very calm. Some just came to board the car, very calm. Some too were very aggressive. We have to sedate them. In fact, that is not the right thing to do because of the quality rights. But because they were aggressive, we couldn't have had them to the other clients without sedating them.
The team was shocked to see 2 of the mentally ill patients impregnated by unknown men. So who could be responsible for their pregnancies?
That is the question I've been asking myself all the time. It's strange. looking at their conditions, still people go and sleep with them. That is why we have decided to pick the females, because many people take advantage of them. We were told they are pregnant, and you could see from their tummy. So we will take them there to do medical checkup.
Besides the high cost of maintaining the center, the NGO says it is faced with total societal rejection of inmates who respond to treatment at the facility. Chief Executive of Willing Way Foundation, Lydia Yamenu, wants the public to accept people suffering from mental illness.
I have some clients here who they are stable, they are okay, but they are not welcome home. I know that this thing will be a challenge for us because of the stigmatization. Even some people even know that their wards or their sisters are sleeping on the street. They know exactly where they are. They bypass them every day. They don't care about them. That is why I am appealing that when we are done with them, the family should support them.
From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Ohime reporting.
Now, the University of Health and Allied Sciences has indicted Professor Lydia Aziato into office, has inducted her into office as third vice-chancellor to steer the affairs of the university. Professor Aziato, who is the second nurse to be appointed vice-chancellor, said the administration would pursue the growth and expansion of the university by relying on technology-driven innovation. Mezia Amankwa Opuni was also inducted as a new registrar.
Professor Lydia Aziato is the first professional nurse to attain the position of professor in Ghana. She took off her career serving as a bedside nurse in 1997 and later joined the University of Ghana in 2001. She rose through the ranks from senior nurse technician to professor in 2020 with 70 publications to her credit. Professor Aziato served as Dean of the School of Nursing and Midwifery, University of Ghana, before being appointed Vice-Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. She took over from Professor John Owusu Japon, under whose tenure the university chalked several successes and became a household name in Ghana. Professor Aziato hopes to build on the strides of her predecessors to ensure the great giant UHAS continues to rise in ranking.
My vision for the university is to create a dynamic and responsive environment that promotes credible research, quality teaching and learning, vibrant internal processes, active stakeholder engagement grounded by the principles of growth, integrity, fairness, technology, innovation, and service. This is my vision for the university. So that's all I'm asking our Father, that we get some financial clearance, that our lab complex to train skills completed, and our Hawaii campus. In conclusion, I wish to emphasize that we'll focus to grow the university. We'll focus our activities to look for resources, expand programs as we progress, baby steps through the years. The growth will be pursued using innovative ways that are technology-driven.
Ms. Amankwa Opuni, who was part of the team that ensured a smooth takeoff of UHAS in 2012, was also inducted as the new registrar. She was assigned Assistant Registrar in 2012, promoted to Senior Assistant Registrar in 2017, and worked in the Human Resources Directorate and School of Public Health. Until she was appointed Registrar, she was an officer of the School of Pharmacy. President Akufo-Addo, who graced the occasion in his address, lauded the progress of UHAS and pledged the government's support for the university's development.
UHAS continues to set high standards of behavior and promotes traditional values which underpin lifelong learning and achievement. Long may they continue. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to learn that UHAS is aggressively pursuing its agenda to be a preeminent health teaching institution dedicated to research and community service. I believe that in the new Vice-Chancellor, We have a person capable of not only steering the affairs of the university for the next 4 years, but also steering it on to even greater heights. Congratulations once again to you, Professor Lydia Ajato, and to Ms. Yama Kwampuni on your appointments and investiture. You have my support and the support of government in the pursuit of the progressive, transformative agenda you have outlined in your speech. And Vice Chancellor, I want to let you know that indeed I will be your advocate with the Minister for Finance to get you your financial clearance to strengthen your capacity to deliver.
UHAS was ranked among the top 3 universities in Ghana, ranked first in Ghana by the Times Higher Education THE Impact Ranking 2020 in the Sustainable Development Goal 3 category. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Sokode.
And on that note, we wrap up today's edition of the AM News. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. The AM show continues.
Thank you so much for joining us this Friday morning. And if you're loving my outfit, it's by Catherine Gordon. Yeah, what a way to start the news review, huh? And if you're loving this gentleman's outfit, it's by
Attila Couture.
Attila Couture.
Oh, so the name
Couture.
Couture.
Est-ce que vous voulez parler un peu de français ce matin?
Please. Bring me to my local language.
Couture. The French might stress the R, couture.
Okay.
But I mean, couture in English.
See, in my local language, you say atali, then you go your
way. No. Say a cotton, or say a polyester, or say
couture.
Atade. But I repeat, your outfit is lovely.
Thank you. Maybe we have to thank 2 people. One is a multimedia lady who does the selection.
Mama Harriet, who is in charge of makeup, costumes, and all of that. Mama Harriet, a very good morning to you. You ensure that we look good.
And then to the tailor who did the work, Attila Couture, and that's how you mentioned, in Dansuman. He's a fantastic young guy he makes me look good, so yeah.
We have to celebrate our own. Some great people out there doing great stuff. But right before we get into the papers.
Yours is beautiful too.
Thank you. I mentioned Catherine Gordon of Catherine Garments. So courtesy of Harriet, I got this material. And Catherine Gordon fitted me out, you know.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm looking more.
It's beautiful.
And then more agenda into ya. But in a minute, I'd like you to do this for me right before we get into the papers. What have been your biggest stories this week?
I think my biggest will be one day. Okay, I have 2. The inflation rate.
Okay.
Over 31%.
So you're talking about the government statistician putting out the inflationary rate for July. Okay.
And then, of course, the La Bianca issue.
All right.
It generated a lot of...
sandstorm, firestorm, windstorm, whatever it is.
Freight forwarders, importers, blah, blah, all speaking on the matter. And it's a huge one, really. Even have you heard the customs boss?
Colonel?
He said,
a small boy. Are you pan? A small boy. Small boys are more about mumwadze. And God is on my side. You know, you remember what he said? God is against us.
When we were in the senior high school, there was a fight between a senior of ours and a junior of ours who were in Form 2. And the boy was in Form 1, our senior was in Form 3. And then my senior said, you know, in my language, he hit the chest and said, this boy is a young boy. He's too small. And then this boy just gave him one slap and then he landed.
But you know, on a more serious note,
oh my goodness,
I feel we're playing with it, we're joking about it, but it's a major problem in our country.
Yeah.
This talk about, oh, you're a small boy.
Small boy.
You can't, and it starts right from infancy. You know, oh, we are kolaka when nutum, and penifo kasa and kasebi, we are perewa. Yes, and to some extent, it is good.
Yeah.
But to a large extent, that is why we see people who grow up in the West or in other places very vocal and very expressive and very, you know, they can manage their thoughts. And then we go, oh, it's so nice. But when you do that to the child right from then, how do you expect the child to do that?
Yeah.
Even when he's thinking anything,
yeah.
So there are two dimensions to it. And what is this thing about age? The fact that you have gray hair doesn't mean you're a repository of knowledge or intelligence or wisdom. There are a lot of, I'm sorry, gray-haired idiots out there. So you cannot say that, oh, because this person is this age. And I feel that is also impacting, just to wrap, that is impacting why even in our constitution, we would put something like, you have to be of this age, 40 and above, before you can be CEO of this country. People have complained in recent times. I saw this bit where people were talking about, how come all our presidents are in their 60s and 70s and all of that? I'm sorry, it's not ageism, but sometimes the ideas, you need fresh blood in there. Look at France, look at the Scandinavian countries, look at New Zealand, look at Croatia, look at them, Sweden, you know, and all of these are very young leaders, 30-something.
Finland too.
30-something. They're doing great things. How come we've stuck ourselves in this, you know, web where it must be elderly people and then we denigrate? Kisia Jabeng, I'm not saying that I'm taking sides on this. He's a former lecturer of mine, but I feel that if he feels that what he is doing is the right way to go, he shouldn't be cowed into submission by
and of course, once he's a special prosecutor,
exactly,
nobody can say he's a young boy and so he shouldn't do what he's doing. So for us, he's doing what lies within his power. It's not about age. It's about whether you're doing the right thing or not. So, and then he's still sticking to his guns. He says, I'm going to expand this whole thing. So let's see.
All right, let's get into the papers.
Let's start with the Ghanaian Times. Now, on the front page, it says, Ghana poised to produce COVID-19 vaccines. First batch to be turned out early 2024. It comes with a picture of the Health Minister, Kweku Ajiman Menu there. Ghana Health Service to vaccinate high-risk groups against monkeypox. Comes with a picture of Dr. Patrick.
Which are those high-risk groups? Please give us some details.
Okay, so let me just get down with it.
Okay, so
Gamashi begins Homo Festival today. Now, let's get into the details of the story and then see what we would have for you. Now, the Ghana Health Service has hinted of a possible vaccination against monkeypox among high-risk groups identified in the country. Dr. Patrick Kumabwaje said this. He said health authorities were closely monitoring the rate of spread, extent of risk within the populace, among other factors, for a final determination. The risk groups, and if we see a particular group at high risk, I think probably they are not trying to give more details about who and who are high risk, because you know how Ghanaians behave.
Right.
When we tend to point a finger at this person, that this person,
then there'll be a stereotype and all that.
I think they are trying to cover it up. But the story has details about the regions that have had, you know, infections and all of that. So you can grab that paper and then go through it. But there's also a story in the graphic that I'm interested in. On page 7, it says Ghana Central Municipal Assembly pulls down illegal structures on waterways.
Oh, that's
great. Now, the Ghana Central Municipal Assembly has embarked on a demolition exercise to pull down all illegal structures erected on waterways in the area. The exercise, led by the Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Bashiru Mohammed Kamara, together with the Assembly's task force, pulled on authorized structures situated around Antieku, Santa Maria, okay, so I think it should be Santa Maria, Anya and its environs. The MC said the exercise followed directives from the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, instructing all MMDCs in the Greater Accra region to demolish all structures that cause flooding in the city.
That's interesting, because it's just yesterday that, you know, the Ghana Water Company Limited, I was interacting with their PRO, Director of Communications, Stanley Mata, and he was talking about the situation where there are also, as part of what is causing them to lose about 50% of revenue from what water they produce, it has to do with buildings situated on waterways and all of that affect their equipment. So it's interesting that at least in one community, we have this drive going on.
Yeah,
it's very important.
But what this should tell the assemblies is that don't wait for someone to put up a structure in an unauthorized place for you to then come later to destroy it. Because I think that once we allow this to go on, it will get to a point where you realize that you cannot do anything because of the number of structures there. So why are the assemblies not...
Why wait?
Yes, not tackling the issue.
It's better to tackle a disease before it gets you bedridden.
So really, it's a good move, but I wish the assemblies can be more proactive. Look at this. They are doing it because the president says. So if the president had not directed them to do it, it means that...
And we remember in recent times on the back of some flooding incidents when Mr. President had to intervene and say, look, I charge you to go and do this. But did we need the charge of the president? That is their purview anyway. That is their responsibility.
Exactly. And if people are building per law, they have to come for permit from the assemblies.
But you know, sometimes these very people who are given permits, later you see the AMA, KMA and others come and inscribe on them. You check and you find out that initially they were given permits. How does that even work?
Corruption. Some people took monies here and there and then gave the permit at the blind side of someone. But now I'm told that the law has made it such that it's a committee that has to give it. And the committee is made up of the land use and special land use authority. It has the fire service, I think, the police. It has a lot of people together with the MC. And so there's no way it should, people, but probably these things happened before that particular law came into force.
Right.
So we are looking at a situation where maybe we don't have to be seeing these things going forward because it's not just an individual who is giving out the permit, but a group of people. Let's see how this leads out. Anyway.
Right. Do we have any other news you'd like to tackle?
I think these are.
Is there any sporting news on the back page?
We didn't start on a good news, but on a good note. But
the Black Princesses.
Yes, U.S. Hammer Princesses in Group D opener.
But their captain, is injured. Is it Evelyn Bedu or something of the sort? She suffered a freak injury right on the cusp of, I think training or something. I'm not too sure about the details, but I saw her.
The former Hazaka's ladies.
I think so.
Oh,
I think so.
My goodness.
And that was really sad because she's the captain. She's the talisman of the side.
And she could have done a lot.
She could have done a lot. I feel we could have pulled a goal back at least against the Americans.
That girl, when you have a striker who is deadly in front of goal.
Right.
What it does is that
it pins down the opposition defense.
So the opposition cannot.
They can't flow.
And that's why you need. That's why Cristiano Ronaldo is vital to Man U, but we can't say it because of his.
Man U should come for me. Charlie, the way they do it.
Anyway, so that's it. The US.
Why are you doing this?
You've never played football before, have you?
Me. Those days they called me David Beckham.
Oh, okay. Anyway. One day we'll arrange a football match between Joy FM and then Adum FM. We'll see what kind
about linguistic contest. Now
Anyway,
let's do.
So US, I think the goal, it was 3-0.
3 goals to nothing. They scored 2 in the first half and another one in the second.
Anyway,
let's get into the daily guide. NDC shuns youth. That story on page 3. I'll give you snippets of that. Wenchi records 330 pregnancies in first half. Police gunned down suspected robber. Electrician radio presenter nabbed for meter theft. Hey, radio presenter also show me. Ayo. So that's it. But the big one, Aswading. We'll build National Cathedral. Story on page 3. All right. So let me bring you some of those details. The opposition, the one that talks about the NDC shunning youth. The opposition NDC says it will not participate in this year's International Youth Day celebrations. According to the youth wing of the NDC, there is nothing to celebrate and feels the youth need not to participate in the International Day celebration, which is recognized worldwide. It said the only thing that was worth celebrating was the tenacity, resilience, and the tolerance of the youth in the face of extreme and justifiable provocation. International Youth Day is an awareness day designated by the UN and commemorated every year on August 12. And so that is why the paper, the Daily Guide, says NDC shuns youth. Anyway, I don't know whether the caption matches the story, but that's the story by Vincent Kubi. Okay. And then let's get into that story. We'll build National Cathedral. The Secretary to the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral, Reverend Victor Kusi-Boateng, has said the board members are determined in constructing the National Cathedral in spite of the odds. He has consequently refuted reports that some members of the board have resigned. Quote, no National Cathedral board member has resigned or is ready to resign. We're even stronger now and resolute that this cathedral will be built at all costs, he said at a press conference in Kumasi yesterday. According to Reverend Boateng, the Board of Trustees has been transparent in its dealings and oversight, explaining that the General Overseer of the International Central Gospel Church, Pastor Mensa Otabil, declined to join the board when he was approached. Okay. So I guess there's some clarity on Dr. Mensa Otabil, or Pastor Mensa Otabil. But who was it that I was speaking to yesterday apart from Nana Oye, I think I spoke to her about the National Cathedral. There was someone I spoke to yesterday about, yes, Priscilla Chumesi. Mm-hmm. Priscilla Chumesi, economist at the University of Ghana. She was talking about, the state of our economy and all of that. And I asked her, look, do we need a National Cathedral at this time? She said, for political reasons, but she eventually came to it and said, it's not a priority. Mm-hmm. $547 million. I will not stop doing this because guess what? I just look at what it could do for us. Do you know that could practically solve the flooding situation in Accra and save us many multiples of that, many billions of dollars in the next 3 years by 2025. So if we're expending that kind of money on a national cathedral where we don't see, how do we say it in Chi?
A home for so.
No, not necessarily that. You don't see the start, you don't see the end, you don't know how it will end up. For me, I have forecast that project likely would not even be completed before this administration's tenure is over. If they win power, okay. But even then, with someone else in that seat, who knows whether it will be continued as the current president is pushing it. If another administration comes into power, that's a whole new ballgame. Some have said turn it into a university and all of that. But I feel the stance of all the things, 547 million, seed money of 25 million, more than some sectors are getting in our economy. The people, most of the people, for me, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 say, we don't need this right now. You're going to the IMF. Initially 1.5 billion, now 3 billion. That's about what? 1/6 of that sum, or 1/5. And you're willing to pump that into a national cathedral? I don't know.
Initially, we were told it was going to be built by, the churches. Then,
have you looked at the contributions that have come in so far? Have you taken a look at them?
Yes, and then government itself started pumping money. Monies that when we were crying that we needed monies to do other things, and that's why this whole thing has generated this whole discussion. Yesterday, I saw the CEO of the cathedral saying that we have politicized the whole thing, and that's why contributions are not coming in. He was appealing to the church to say, look, bring it in. Let's put up this structure. But I think the whole, how we started and how we were crawling, and then all of a sudden we tried to fly, that has really created this whole disaffection for the thing. Because else, if it was going to be built by the churches, I wouldn't have a problem with even the churches were putting that. But when we knew that government was churning our meager resources into that, that's where the whole thing started. So government could have, been more plain with us. That could have brought in the buy-in into this project. But when they sort of covered a lot of things up, that's when a lot of citizens said, well.
Oh, well. It is what it is. Let me just wrap with some 2 stories and we're done. I'll begin covering my body, Equiapim Polo. So what is she saying? She says she would no longer be wearing skimpy dresses as a result of her decision to convert to the Islamic faith. And in an Instagram video on Wednesday, she said she had converted because of her son, who is a Muslim, by his Muslim father. Quote, as sexy Polo, you will see me go sexy. I will cover myself in clothes, but my sexy body will be exposed. That is what you don't like. You hate to see my cute, sexy body, but I am sexy, she stated. And there's, you know, our very own Kobe Spike in Chroma.
Hey, yo.
You know, our tech, our in-house tech.
Yes, that guy is a great
So
guy.
Samsung has introduced, have you heard? It's a Galaxy Z Flip 4 and Galaxy Z Fold 4. 4 is out. Hey, no propaganda. I said very crazy. And our very own Kobe Spike in Chroma was there. You can see him, right?
Yeah, I can.
With his, you know.
I mean, you cannot talk about technology without him.
Yeah.
He's a solid guy in that sphere. So yeah.
And in sports, Kotoko Grab, Cameroonian keeper. Which local team do you support again?
Asante, Kumasi Asante. Aside my regional teams.
Which yeah. Those days when Voradep was there and what I say, at least you gives them some. All right, it's done with the Daily Guide newspaper.
So let's do the Daily Statesman now. And Mofa takes delivery of machinery to aid farming. It says, as part of effort aimed at supporting farmers and strengthening the agro-processing sector in the country, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Efriya Koto, has commissioned modern, sophisticated farm machinery to enhance operations of farmers in the country. The deal to enhance agriculture through mechanization came as a facility from the Brazilian government in the sum of $96 million. This is good because we need machines to modernize agric. And I've said that over the years, since my senior high school days to the university when I was studying agric, all that we were being taught about agric mechanization. Mechanization can bring us A, B, C, D, and we've done this project, we've done that, but practically on the ground, there was little to show for. So I've heard in budget where we say we're going to build up regional mechanization centers, but you go to the regions and you find nothing. So it's good we are trying to make these machines available. Machines were coming, but how it will be made available to the farmers is one thing we need to look at. Their maintenance is one thing we need to look at. Look, the rice industry alone needs a lot of machinery to make it work. Do we have that? So we need to do targeting.
And if we don't, how are we, you know, putting in place policies? What are we doing about the situation?
So I hope that this one will be a start to something that would let us have these sort of, regional mechanization centers where a farmer can go in there and rent a machine for his farming activities after it's returned. But also we need to caution those who will be, managing those machinery. Because we've been in a country where we'll bring a machine today, but 2-3 years down the line, it will be broken down, lying somewhere. So these are things we need to look at.
I feel part of it as well is that we don't also implement. Yes, mechanization, agric mechanization is a good thing, but we have homegrown systems, local systems that sometimes we completely ignore. I don't know, but my history tells me about back then, the Shadoof in Egypt, ancient Egypt, okay? We learned about it in history way back. These things you don't find in our curricula anymore. We don't even know about hieroglyphics and all of that. But recently I was watching this TED talk by a Nigerian, PhD holder. And she was talking about, I forget whether it's the TASA system. I think it's in Niger. A homegrown system where, because the land is so barren, okay, it's basically desert land and all of that. They drill these holes 6 meters by 6 meters. When it rains, it accumulates and feeds the crops. And these are yielding way more results than even other systems. You get it? Or places where they did not have them. I think the cultivation of millet was about 11, kg per hectare where it wasn't being used, and about 540 something where it was used. So you see these differences. Even in telling our story, we don't use homegrown stuff. And part of why we are where we are, whether it's our economy, whether it's whatever it is because we adopt wholesale. So democracy, for example, government of the people, by the people, for the people. How have we Ghanaianized it in our context?
Okay.
India has democracy, but they have a specific way that they're going about democratic practice.
Okay.
Australia has same. Here is just wholesale. Adopt it, bring it in, and don't even integrate it properly. Yeah. That is why we're suffering. That is why we can have a top-heavy executive like we have now without any proper, because we don't even have a homegrown Ghanaian concept of what our democracy should look like.
So my advice to the Ministry of Agric will be that, yes, bring in the machines, but ensure that they are maintained well. I went to Somanya and I saw an agric mechanization center. I was like, wow. And the place has been left. It's been abandoned, really. I was like, how can we have such a facility here and we've closed it down. Nothing is working there. So it's good we are bringing in the machines. But please, the agric ministry should ensure that these machines are maintained well. We shouldn't come 5 years down the line and hear that these machines that are being brought in around what, $96 million are lying fallow somewhere without being used. That would be a heartbreaking story. But it's good. We'll be keeping an eye on that one. But let me bring a story that we did. You know, I traveled to America where there's a company that is winning sand and is polluting the environment. Happy to note that minister has cautioned against sand winning. We are told.
You mean the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources?
Yes.
Right.
The Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, responsible for lands and forestry, Benito Usubio, has cautioned individuals and groups winning sand on portions of Amrehia dairy farmland in the Adentan municipality of the Greater Accra region to, as a matter of urgency, halt such illegalities. He stressed that anyone caught in the act or aiding and abetting others will be arrested and prosecuted. So it's good he's speaking. We'll keep an eye to see whether they are doing exactly what he says. Because in Ghana, we love to talk, but we don't.
We'll talk there. We are the best in the world.
So it's good he said it.
Yeah.
That will give us a basis to go and monitor whether those things are happening. Because when I went there and I saw how they are, winning sand on the farmland, I was like, what? And nobody can talk because everybody is afraid. So it's good that minister has spoken. Because someone is afraid that when he or she speaks,
you'll be targeted.
Exactly.
Victimized.
But we can't use that to build a country. And that's what we need to learn from. So it's good that minister has spoken. It will give us the impetus to go there to say, how is it now? What is the situation now? Are they still doing it? And then we can alert the minister. You said ABC. Go there again and see what is happening. So we would want to see more action and less talk. But it's good he's spoken. We'll go there and monitor.
Ayo.
Yeah.
That story is also captured in the Finder newspaper. Okay. But let's get into Republic Press first.
Also even in the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Right. Yeah. So Bono region, pastor detained with human parts. You read that story earlier during the AM news about some people with mental incapacity, women, who are being raped first of all, then killed, and their body parts removed. This trend is becoming, now we have what? A pastor detained with human parts. The story is on page 4. Where is our country going? Where is our country going? I mean, the Chira police in the Bono region have detained a 45-year-old self-described preacher being found in possession of human remains at Buako Nkwanta. Evangelist Elijah, I was not friendly who evangelist,
and then Elijah.
The culprit was arrested following a tip from a neighbor who was concerned about his preaching activities. According to sources, the arrest was confirmed by the Assembly member, Honorable Mustafa Musa. Honorable Musa claimed that the suspect lives alone outside of the neighborhood. He returns to bed in the evening after preaching, and there's more. But these stories are really, really, really sad.
Is it a penchant to get rich quicker than
obviously
the normal time? Or what is really the motivating factor here?
We have some social, cultural, economic disconnect or dislocation. Everyone wants to get rich quick, but partly I blame our leaders, especially our political leaders. You know why?
No.
They've created this system where you see them basking in wealth, in the largesse of the state, in the V8s and blowing money large and, taking people's wives and girlfriends. I know what I'm talking about, trust me. And when young people see that in a system where the picture is painted that you can get rich without working hard to get there, then they start feeling, but
who created a picture that you can get rich without working hard? The politicians.
What is the fastest way in this country to make money? Politics.
But it gets
so it's a systemic problem. We've created it over time, over the decades, and now we've got to the point where we are reaping what we've sown.
But if that is the case, that is supposed to be the case, then why don't you enter politics and become rich?
Yeah, because it's not everyone who will want to do that. So the person is thinking, let me also find, I mean, we're not justifying what is going on. It is inhumane and it is absurdly, egregiously criminal. But we must call a spade a spade.
Yeah, but I feel for this one, we cannot really tie it down with politics per se.
I'm saying that the example, sometimes when they see the ostentatiousness,
then you get
how
into
they
politics.
flaunt
You
wealth.
don't go and kill people.
But not everyone would want to go into politics. Me, I'm a student of politics, international politics, languages, and all of that. I would have loved to play some role. But when I look at Ghanaian politics and how we do it, how dirty, it doesn't excite me. I would rather do international politics, maybe with the UN and other such organizations.
But
our politics is incredibly dirty.
But when someone musters the courage to kill another, I feel that it is not about someone motivating you, or you are motivated by someone's lifestyle to go and kill someone. It is your personal decision, and you should be personally responsible for it.
Before we arrive at these personal decisions, and that brings me to my next point.
Okay.
Content on our televisions and radio as well.
That I may agree with you. That the
you remember the Kasua, the 10-year-old
yes.
or so?
Yes.
Yeah, some people say technically not Kasua, but all of these, there are linkages. Let me tell you. The ostentation I am talking about, how some of our leaders flaunt wealth. Wealth that we know, I mean, Asamesi, when not in power, was like this, had this. In power, 1 year, 2 years. I mean, some of the things we talk about them, you don't speak ill of the dead, but look, Sir John, over a certain period, what he accumulated within months, if you were Charlie.
Yeah.
How did you come by those?
Yes, but
when people see that.
Yes, it true.
Affects.
But that's what I'm saying. That,
and then with all these people doing things on TV and radio.
Do you know that?
Do you think it doesn't have an effect?
There are these young guys who are not politicians, who are living affluent lifestyles in their community.
There too, we should be questioning them, but the system is failing to do that. You should be able to say, but you, what work do you do that all of a sudden you are driving in a Range Rover? I see them all the time. Young people. What can I do? And what will I say? You mind your business. Anyway, the story of the customs boss is also here. They say he goes haywire. Reshuffling ministers won't solve Ghana's problems. Kwejum Pieni says so. But he actually also says that we need to really look at it. So I don't know which angle they took it from, but it's both sides. And then even if you cut our thumbs, we'll vote for MPP without our tongue. With our tongue. But Kwabre is chief. And he bemoans some of the lack of development there. But he also says that, well, I say they belong to the MPP. So forever.
They would vote.
That's how I'll wrap. Maybe a final story from you, and then we can move.
Well, from the Ghanaian publisher, it says, sack non-performing ministers. It is not about reshuffling. Majority leader tells president.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I feel some ministers should have gone a long time ago. But some are doing well. Others should have gone a long time ago.
But the president doesn't look like someone who wants to reshuffle or sack anybody. Let's see, maybe he will change his mind.
But that brings me to my final point. Akufo-Addo, as an opposition leader, and how he came across as Barack Obama said, we don't need strong men, we need strong institutions. But how he came across as that strong personality who would be able to, in all of these instances, it's been a no-show for me. I don't see that.
Really?
As a strong personality. Maybe you can take it from the standpoint of, I feel maybe it's the opposition and others trying to get me to reshuffle, so I'm going to maintain my stance. But in some of the instances that he's done that, like he together with the finance minister, IMF, and we are there, aren't we?
Yeah, so maybe, let's see, because of the pressure coming in, he may decide to change his mind. Let's see how the days go.
But I'll just share with you this bit because you can expect it in a few minutes. Can you guess where I'm headed this morning as far as my blunt thoughts are concerned?
I don't do guess games because they are difficult to do.
Ghana in mediocrity's chokehold. How the standards have fallen. Look forward to that one. But up next, we serve you sports. Right after that, I'll be coming on your screens with my blunt thoughts. Hot. Stay. Welcome back on the AM show. It's a Friday and I share with you my blunt thoughts for today. I've titled it, Ghana in mediocrity's chokehold. How the standards have fallen. Ghana our motto as a country is freedom and justice. But are we truly free while tied to the apron strings of the Bretton Woods institutions, the IMF, the World Bank? Are we just when Ahmed Hussein Swale and the like still shift in their graves because their murderers roam free? What we definitely are here is mediocre. Yes, I said it. We're a very mediocre people. Our leaders nowadays have made absolute nonsense of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's words that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. In fact, today, those very countries like Britain, France, Belgium, and Portugal that heaped the inhuman burden of colonialism on Africans between 1450 and 1957 and beyond are the countries our nationals, especially Ghanaians, are flocking to. What an insult to ourselves, all because of leaders who are bereft of transformational ideas and barren of action. Today, our cedi is flip-flopping against foreign currencies like nobody's business. Inflation, too, has bared its teeth and is biting the ordinary Ghanaian hard as it stands at 31.7%. Our economy is in gargantuan trouble, really. This is extremely mediocre for a country which, at independence, touted that it could manage its own affairs. And for a political party, the MPP, that purported to have the men to reinvigorate our economy and make heaven of our country. This performance is appalling, really. But just hold it for me. Look behind me. Look at inflation a year ago. Look at inflation now. In July 2022, 31.7%. This is a post that I singled out because of what it says recently. It's by one Ronnie who says, a house that was going for 250,000 Ghana cedis in February 2019 is now going for 728,000. Same house, same design, same location. For context, it's an estate developer and the first phase of his estate was going for 250K and 350K in 2019. And now the new ones he's built, same designs, are going for $80K and 120K respectively. The other day, I heard President Akufo-Addo at the Reparations and Racial Healing Summit 2022 harping on the need for compensating Africans for the centuries of socio-economic exploitation during the days of slavery. No wahala. But we still are slaves even today thanks to our unbridled taste for foreign goods as well as the neo-colonialism Nkrumah prophesied, are we not? I ask, for how long shall our inept leaders blame the colonizers for what happened and ended for most of Africa over 6 decades ago? Within that same period, India, also colonized by the British, has moved from weaning itself off British rule to becoming the 6th largest economy in the world. It has become the world's technological hub and the go-to place for the manufacture of drugs and healthcare. People from America and Europe trooped to India. India didn't hanker after or cry for the crumbs the West could offer. No, they charted their own course. So why not us? I'm not saying any or some reparation is bad, but even with what we have, look at how irresponsibly our leaders manage them. I've come to believe, honestly, there could be something fundamentally wrong with the Ghanaian and the Ghanaian psyche. We've handed over everything, the crucial aspects of our industry, economy, to Indians, Lebanese, Chinese, Syrians, South Africans, Brazilians, and what have you. And the monetary repatriation continues non-stop, while we, the men, women, and children of the soil, wallow in hunger in our own country on the back of failed and failing policies. No, I'm not preaching xenophobia. Far from it. That is foolish. All I am saying is, if today these entities were to pull out, our economy would crumble, because it depends so much on these services and telcos and banks, which are by and large foreign. We said we were cleaning up the banking sector and we duly swept aside our own national treasures through political targeting. The foreign banks are doing just fine with our money, though thanks to our stupidity. In this country of ours, we've spent north of 20 billion Ghana cedis and are due to spend some 8 billion more on just one banking sector cleanup that never seems to end. That, interestingly, is more than the $3 billion we are now begging the IMF for. Do you see just how dumb that is? Our leaders, you see, talk very big, but perform way too small. No offense to anyone, but they are giants when it comes to rhetoric and midgets when it comes to delivery. Our sad situation. Would you believe it if I told you that for a country that has so little finished products and which should guard what grows from here, the Chinese are buying share nuts, I mean the nuts, from up north, taking them back and have started producing same in faraway China. Very soon, thanks to their vast land and readily available labor and technology, they will outstrip us in production and even sell back to us in refined form. Once again, we shall come crying, but now who calls them? We have no regulations, so they come and buy our precious shea nuts and repatriate them to China. How on earth? But it's happening in living color even as I speak now. And if you think I'm blowing things out of proportion, digest the fact that shea butter production is the main source of livelihood for more than 1 million rural women in Ghana. That 300,000 metric tons of shea butter was imported into Europe in 2020 alone. And that Ghana, the largest exporter of unrefined shea butter, with its 94 million shea trees, produces as much as 60,000 tons of shea nuts every year. This is not something to joke about. It's scandalous, to say the least, what we are allowing the Chinese to do. But it doesn't end there. Things are in fact so topsy-turvy that not even our sports have been spared. Even there too, we are bleeding. I'm not going to talk about yesterday's 3-0 trouncing of our Black Princesses by the USA in their opening game in the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Costa Rica, no. But I'd like to reflect briefly on our performance at the recent Commonwealth Games in Birmingham in the UK. Now, I know there are some of you who will say, this is an improvement at least. We won our first medal ever in the long jump category courtesy Deborah Aqua, and that we earned our first medal in the men's 200-meter sprint event since 1974, thanks to Joseph Paul Amwa. But let's ask ourselves, from which stock did we come? What example did our forebears set for us? When as far back as 1962 in Perth, Australia, and 1966 in Kingston, Jamaica, with less technology, less logistics, less financial outlay, we had a bigger medal haul of 9 in each event with far fewer athletes. We now pay glowing tribute to mediocrity, celebrating what is far beneath us, beneath our stature. I recently wept when our athletes, in a feat not witnessed in decades, qualified for the finals of the Commonwealth Games, only for it to be pulled from under them because the Ghana Athletics Association had erred in a way. It really is sad. I'll be going to the board shortly. The economic dialogue continues. We would look at what? The cedi-dollar ratio. Look at it, what it was just a year ago, 6 cedis. Now, 9 cedis, 30 pesos. I interacted with people yesterday who would say that it's now going for as high as 950 or 960. But let's talk about, you can also see the international ratings here and how we've been downgraded since 2016 to CCC status across the board. And here, when you look at the rating scale, you will see exactly what is happening. We are at very high credit risk, junk bonds, high interest rates, high risk of default, limited access to funds. That's where we find ourselves. But as I end on the sporting bit, look at this comparative. Nigeria, the country that performed the best, ranking 7th, in the Commonwealth Games and the best in Africa, had a medal haul of 35 medals, 7 gold, 9 silver, 11 bronze. We are way down here, and some would say, oh, we are not the worst performing. But look at some of these countries we are competing with. And take note of the fact, for example, that Nigeria fielded, some would say they presented 94, but eventually had only 50 representatives there. And they had what? 35 medals. Do you know how many Ghana sent? 99. How much did we get? 5. And this is what really broke my heart. These gentlemen here, Benjamin Akakpo, Joseph Paul Amwa, among others, they did so well. But the men's 4x100 team was disqualified per World Athletics Rule TR 2411. In short, only athletes whose names are on the final confirmation form as starters can run during the competition. The Ghana Athletics Association failed to mention a switch an hour before time. And this is what they said. We render an unqualified and heartfelt apology to the men's 4x100 team for the technical oversight that led to the disqualification of the team from the final of the 4x100 meter relay. The withdrawal was not transmitted in time to the Technical Information Center by our coaching crew. The question is now, who caused them? In a country of mediocrity, this is what you see. Now, are you in agreement with me that we are extremely mediocre in this country? We are in fact so mediocre that our political leaders fail to resign even when they fail to perform. And we, the people, fail to hold them to account. So we keep failing as a country. With such a vicious cycle, how possibly can Ghana live up to the meaning of the name it bears, the great name it bears, Ghana, strong warrior king? That is for me and for you to ponder. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I chastise our leaders because they can do far better, and they know it. Because we need much more than they are giving us to turn things around. These are my blunt thoughts for you, served on a Friday morning. Hot, raw, and undiluted. God richly bless Ghana. Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. And we get into our big stories. For starters, we're going to be talking about the situation between the Office of the Special Prosecutor versus La Bianca. And the OSP has decided to undertake a full-scale probe into all tax waivers granted by the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority to various companies. Now, according to JoyNews sources at the OSP, the investigation will include that of La Bianca Group. La Bianca Group of Companies, a frozen foods company owned by a member of the Council of State, Eunice Jacqueline Bua Asomahene. The source also divulged that the probe is geared at considering a prosecution and will possibly partner with other key investigative agencies, including the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO for short. Today, we discuss the brouhaha with our guests. Bobby Banson is a lawyer. He'll join the conversation shortly. We also have Guildfred Esiama, research fellow with the CDD, Mensa Thompson, executive director for ASEPA. All of these gentlemen joining the conversation. But let's start with Mensa Thompson, executive director for ASEPA. You have also, in recent times, on the back of this development and on the back of the different letters that have been written by the freight forwarders and traders, by this outfit, that outfit, customs, you've also thrown in your own two pesewas, if I may. But what do you make, Mensa Thompson, of this conversation so far, this development in terms of the CEO of La Bianca and the special prosecutor going after her? What are your initial reflections on that situation?
Cherished viewers, I think it's a very difficult situation that we find ourselves in. What makes it interesting is that the character in question is someone who sits on the advisory council that advises the president, which we refer to as the Council of State. And it raises significant questions on the criteria and how we appoint people into certain positions in this country, what sort of background checks. And when I say background checks, I don't even mean just criminal verifications or criminal background verifications, but even business and commercial interests. Because you see, when you put people in a situation where their commercial and private interest could conflict with the larger interest of the state, then when some of these things happen, you can't turn around and blame everybody but yourself, because you are the cause of the problem. You created a fertile ground for this to happen. And the question that I've been asking myself since this issue broke has been, how come one person, same person, sits on the Council of State advising the president, and same person sits on the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority Board? And this same person is one of the largest importer of frozen foods into our country. How did we get here? It's something that we must answer before we even get into the larger
But even before you go on, Mensa Thompson, we'll also take a look at your statement. But I just want to find out from you. The Customs Division, among others, even the freight forwarders, the traders, have said that this is not an entirely new enterprise. That has been happening. So why single out what has happened with La Bianca? What exactly is wrong with it? It's not something that is not the norm. Actually, from what we've been told, it actually is a bit of a norm.
Well, I don't think anybody is singling her out. I think what has made her case peculiar is the fact that she sits on the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority board and sits on the board of the Council of State. These are all influential positions. Now, particularly on the board of Ghana Port and Harbour Authority, we do know that our port is managed by the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority, who is in charge of operations at the port, and the Customs Division of GRA, who are in charge of revenue collection at the port. So these two agencies are working together and in synergy. Now, this so-called tax reprieve, which they are referring to, that is not a new thing. They give these tax reprieves every now and then. Granted. Now, before customs can arrive at a decision to even give somebody that tax rebate or tax incentive for imports, some conversation would have happened between them and the port authorities. Some assessment would have been done, some background checks, some verification would have been done, which involves the participation of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, on whose board this character in question sits.
It appears we're having some challenges with the connection with Mensa Thompson, Executive Director.
And for me,
go ahead, Mensa Thompson.
Yes, and Benjamin, for me, I think that it is on the back of this that we have even petitioned the president for her removal, because what we are saying is that
for her removal based on what exactly?
Yes, based on the fact that she defies the requirement of sitting on the Council of State, because one of the key requirements of sitting on the Council of State is to have high moral character. High moral character. And we believe that if this woman in question have any moral character to the extent of sitting or granting her leave to sit on the Council of State, she would have rejected the nomination for her to sit on the board of Ghana Port and Harbour Authority on the basis that she has commercial interest at the port.
So you think there was a clear conflict of interest?
In fact, it's so overt that you cannot even discount it. Very clear conflict of interest, that you are the largest importer of frozen food into the country and you sit on the board of the Ghana Port and Harbour Authority.
Right.
That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And so for me, it is on this basis that we say, look, this person cannot have high moral character. So if she has integrity, she would have rejected that nomination on the basis that she has commercial interest at the port. And that's why we said that, look, the president must remove this person. However further investigation the OSP is going to do.
Right.
I mean, on the back that she has refunded monies back to the state and the preliminary report issued by the special prosecutor, the woman must go home.
Hold for me. We're going to splash on your screen, if possible, that statement that ASEPA put out. But Samuel Kojo-Brace is still here with me, and he'll walk us through that statement right before I get to Bobby Banton, a lawyer, to find out what he thinks about these dynamics. But Samuel, what does the statement say?
Well, so it says we write officially to petition President of the Republic of Ghana for the immediate removal of the statement that ASEPA has putting out there. It says we write to officially petition the President of the Republic of Ghana for the immediate removal of Ms. Eunice Jacqueline Asuma-Hine, a member of the Council of State of the Republic of Ghana and the CEO of La Bianca Group of Companies, herein referred to as respondent, on the grounds of stated misbehavior pursuant to Article 89(6) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Now, this petition has become necessary on the basis of the official report released by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, indicting the respondent of serious allegations of corruption, insider trading, and influence peddling, among several malpractices. It is our firm belief that these allegations and the conclusive investigative report released by the Office of the Special Prosecutor constitute enough grounds for stated misbehavior as stipulated in Article 89(6). For the avoidance of doubt, Article 89(6) states that the appointment of a member of the Council of State may be terminated by the president on grounds of stated misbehavior of or inability to perform his functions arising from infirmity of body or mind and with the prior approval of Parliament. Pursuant to the provisions of this constitution, a copy of this petition will be sent to Parliament through the Speaker of Parliament to commence actions to provide the necessary approval for the decision of the President in respect of this matter. A copy of the report by the Special Prosecutor has also been attached here, herein for the consideration of the President. It's signed by Mensa Thompson, the one we're speaking to.
Okay, so these are the allegations or the charges leveled against Madam Hene by ASEPA. Let me come to Bobby Banton. For you, when you look at the case like this, what are the fundamental difficulties you may have with the approach of the OSP? What are the fundamental problems that La Bianca and her CEO, that is Madam Hene, maybe has got herself into by being a member of the Council of State and also being a board member of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority? Basically, what do you see? And add for me, definitely, do you see in there conflict of interest?
Good morning, Benson, and good morning to your viewers and listeners and Mr. Thompson. Do I see
Did you just call me Benson, though?
No, sorry.
Benjamin.
Benjamin. Did I?
You nearly gave me my first name a remix with your last name.
I hope there's no conflict of interest there.
Definitely not. All right.
Do I see a conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Definitely, there would be a perception of a conflict of interest.
Okay.
The question is, I'm talking about in respect of her sitting on the board of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority. I'm looking at two scenarios. Of course, we all know that Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority has the mandate to oversee the activities of or within the Ports and Harbour Authority, where we know that is the route of her trade. Did the president consider her experience with importing products into the country to aid the activities of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority by putting her there? Some would say yes. Maybe the president thinks that since she conducts her activities within that space, maybe she can bring her experience to bear to the operations of the authority. That may be a consideration. One can also say, listen, once the person is in continuous trade there, can the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority be able to look at maybe any request from her and say we would deny it? That is where there is the perception of the conflict of interest. If to a neutral mind, I would think that the perception of conflict of interest should have been enough to have informed the president's decision not to nominate her, because we have found ourselves in a situation where it is not an issue of whether or not she actually did the influence peddling. It's an issue of whether or not there's the perception that she could have done the influence peddling.
And in law, we know that once there is the possibility of something, you look at that factor and not take certain steps. If you do, then there could be consequences. But let me just ask you this. Do you feel then that the president erred in even putting her forward, and I use erred in context, in putting her forward for this position as a member of the Council of State, or in fact as a member of the board of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority?
Yes, I would with the Ghana member of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority. I think with what is happening now, with hindsight, the president would say that maybe perhaps he should not have. But I was going to in the broader corporate governance structure.
Right.
The perception or the fact that there's a possibility of conflict of interest may not necessarily deny a person's appointment. I think that the established practice is that when there's any transaction where you are part of the decision-making authority, you'd have to disclose your interest.
Exactly.
And whether or not the rest of your members would decide to proceed. So we do not know
almost like some people were calling for with the PPA boss when this issue came up.
Exactly, exactly. So we do not know whether or not those internal corporate governance mechanisms exist within the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority. Like I said, there are two scenarios. The president may have considered her experience with dealing with the Ports and Harbour Authority and say, bring that experience to bear. And the possibility of conflict of interest may be corrected or remedied if the corporate governance procedures are followed, so that if there is any decision that has to be taken regarding her operations, whether she would disclose her interest, whether she will be omitted from that decision-making process. So yes, the perception of conflict of interest is there, but the law or the corporate governance structure or regime provides for these means. I'm not in a position to say whether or not she or the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority followed this corporate governance, regime to make sure that she will not have peddled any influence in any decision regarding her operations within the
Bobby, two quick questions before my colleague Samuel Kojo-Brace also steps in. Very quickly. In the shoes of the chief executive of this country, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, what would you have done? And secondly, don't you find it curious that, especially as all of these authorities, yes, they operate in some way in silos, but there should be systems that cut across so that you know that whether you are working under this agency or that department or that ministry, these are certain guidelines that must be followed. And when it comes to conflict of interest, these are measures that cut across the fabric of our national, company life, so that you can't do X, Y, Z. Isn't it curious that supposedly it's a pick and choose situation?
Well, I think that the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority may, I'm not sure if it falls under the SIGA. Is it a state? There was an institution that was set up
to SIGA,
ensure.
State Interested Government.
SIGA. So I know that they have a policy to guide some of these things within the institution. Now, if for me it becomes an interesting situation, the fact that from the report she has refunded an amount of 1 million Ghana cedis. Right. And if she resisted or she refutes the investigations, the outcome of the investigations of the OSP, I don't think that she would have refunded the money. And so once
the question is, why then would she have even gone ahead to refund the money?
Exactly. Once that is done, it feeds into the perception that there is an admission of certain wrongdoing on her part. Right. Because when you read the report, the OSP said that she appeared at those meetings or the interviews, for lack of a better word, with her counsel. Yeah. And so she had proper legal advice on what to do in the context of what has happened. And so if she had not refunded it and she had resisted it, they would have said, okay, maybe she has taken steps to actually say that the due process was followed. I never peddled any influence. There was no corrupt practice. But this is the case where she has refunded it. And I believe that in our criminal jurisprudence now, the refund will not happen unless the person has admitted to the allegation or the offense. And so that changes the dynamic.
Plea bargaining hasn't, so to speak, kicked in yet, but it appears
No, that is what I'm saying,
it's happening.
In the general jurisprudence of, yes, because we have, for instance, I think the late Malamise's case, where there was an instance he offered to refund, but the court was of the opinion that unless you plead guilty, you will not be allowed to refund. And if you will not plead guilty, then we would have to go through the process. Yeah. And he opted that I will not plead guilty, so let's go through the process. And he was found guilty. So in the criminal jurisprudence, I think that the position is that once you offer to refund, then it's an admission that, okay, you have, accepted the allegations. And that changes the dynamics for me. That once she has done that, it will be difficult for her to come back to say there was no such influence, there was nothing untoward that had happened. And if I were the president now, then it would be a basis for me to say, okay, you were given this position, for instance, to bring your experience to bear. Right. But it seems that you have taken advantage or abused that position. And so out of respect, if you could, just step aside from your position as a member of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority Board, so that somebody else would come. But is it not interesting that it's a case that has come out? I believe that if we are fair to ourselves as a country, we would see that there are many instances where people who hold commercial interests in certain sectors of our economy have been put in charge of those sectors. And every now and then there are issues of conflict of interest and nothing seems to happen or to be done about it. This is an instance where 1 million Ghana cedis, I believe, has been refunded.
A little over 1 million. I think 1.074 or something of the sort.
Yes. In this economy where every cent matters to the government, I cringe to hear things like that. And worst of all, to see certain, or I think they call themselves an association or something, say that, oh, it is normal. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, so the freight and trade groupings and others saying that this is what happens.
Yes, it happens because you see a whole law or bill has been placed before Parliament to regulate these tax waivers because the research has proven that Ghana loses so much money with this exercise of discretion by the authorities that collect the taxes. So they can decide to waive tax in certain amounts to certain people. And if this is a reflection of what is happening at the port, then I shudder to think how much more we have lost in these instances.
As for how much more we could have lost, only God knows. But we also have Guildfred Esiama of the CDD with us. Guildfred, a very good morning to you. Hello, Guildfred.
Hello, good morning.
Great, it's a pleasure having you. Guildfred, just hold for us. We're having this conversation, and my colleague Samuel Kojo-Brace is also here. Samuel, so you have some questions on
exactly on. I mean, Lawyer Bunsen was talking about that provision or that allows importers to go and seek some bit of reduction from the GRA. The Chamber of Freight and Trade says La Bianca did nothing wrong because it followed what the law says.
Right.
And I wanted lawyer to help us out. Looking at her position as a Council of State member, as a board member for
the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority,
because and then that's where she does her import and export from through. How best could she have done
this
such that
without implicating herself,
exactly,
so to speak.
Exactly. So that's why I want to see if lawyer can help us out in that position. How best could she have done it?
Well, that is why I said that I expect, especially with my a little knowledge, not internal, not insider knowledge, but standard knowledge of the operations of or the activities of SIGA, that there should be a corporate governance regime, just like we have for the banks, just as we have for other private institutions, where if you find yourself in a situation where your commercial interest overrides or is in conflict with the interest of the institution you work for, you should disclose it at any meeting. So if she has applied for these waivers, the decision would have to be taken by the Ghana Revenue Authority, not the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. And she is not a member of the Ghana Revenue Authority. So in respect of taking advantage of those statutory provisions, one would say that, okay, on the face of it, there's no possibility of conflict of interest because she is not a member of the decision-making body that grants those waivers. But again, like I said, just like corruption, with conflict of interest, it deals more with perception. And so if you are not a member of the Ghana Revenue Authority, you are a member of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, I believe that the Ghana Revenue Authority would take and in this instance, the SEPS, the Customs Division, would take that decision to grant or refuse your application for waivers or tax reduction at the port in consultation with the actual institution that you are dealing with, which in this instance would be the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority. And so it again fits into the perception. The second thing that one will look at is whether or not other persons conducting her business or her nature of business also are giving these waivers. Because remember, from the complaint that was lodged, one of the things said was that she's getting market advantage because her expense structure is lower than those of her competitors. And so you ask yourself whether indeed her competitors, when they apply for such waivers, they are given the same consideration that she is also given. And that is where the question mark comes in. Is it because of her position as a member of a Council of State? One. Is it because of her position as a board member of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority? Or three, is it because of her perceived position within or membership of the New Patriotic Party that allows the Customs Division to grant her these waivers as against other competitors of hers? So if you have evidence that her competitors, when they apply for such waivers, they are not given. And when she applies for such waivers, she is given. And in some instances, I think that the report showed that she was even given more than what was even allowed by law. Then it eats into the perception that indeed, perhaps, it is a position in the, as a member of the Council of State, as a member of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority Board, and her perceived, because I have not seen her membership card of the MPP, but her perceived membership of the MPP, that is getting these decisions to be taken in her favor. So it's all a matter of perception, but because the OSP said he did thorough investigation based on the report, well, he says that there's, I think the last part of the report said that it's open to a wider investigation. And I want to think that he used the word wider to say that we will investigate more persons connected with such activities. So with respect to, her name is Bianca, or Bianca Company Limited, I believe that the OSP may have concluded his investigation and found enough substantial evidence to back this perception. And like I said, if the woman or if the company has refunded that 1 million Ghana cedis, then it means that there's some form of admission on her part, that indeed she has gotten what per law she is not entitled to. And so we can start the conversation from that.
Bobby, right before we move on, Brace will be right back, but I just want a quick one here. So does that mean if you were her counsel, would you have suggested against this as it's some sort of admission of guilt? Would you have suggested otherwise?
Well, counsel per the ethic of our profession, if your client admits that, yes, I have done this, it is not your job to advise her against doing what is law, because we owe a duty not only to our clients, but to the court, and more importantly, to the bar or the justice delivery system. So if your client comes to say that, listen, this is actually true, to avoid prosecution, let me pay the money, and then let's this close. I do not think that it's within the ethics of our profession for you to advise against or in such instances.
Interesting. I'm told we have Dennis Amfosefa on the line.
So Bernice Amfosefa.
Bernice, okay.
Or is it Dennis?
Okay.
It's Dennis, rather.
Dennis Amfosefa, and he is with the Chamber of Freight and Trade. So let me come to you, Amfosefa. You say that per the law, GRA and La Bianca did not err. But this is a case where La Bianca company has also paid back over 1 million cedis in what you could say is an admission of guilt here. So where lies your suggestion that GRA and La Bianca did not err when the company itself is in a way admitting guilt?
Okay, thank you. And I think that we need to tackle that one first. If the lawyer can read section 42, clause 5 of Act 915, the Revenue Administrative Act, okay, it states clearly, an objection against a tax decision shall not be entertained unless the person has, A, in the case of import duties and taxes, paid all outstanding taxes, including the full amount of the tax in dispute. And B, as for the B, is not important now, but the A, it is clear. He said, in the case of import duties and taxes, paid all the outstanding taxes, including the full amount of tax in dispute. It means that even if she has an objection to the short collection that the GRE arrived at, before she can even raise the objections, or before the objections can be entertained, she needs to pay. So paying, it's never an admission of guilt. So I was surprised the lawyer could say that the payment of the short collection concludes or seek to prove that she has admitted guilt. Where by law, it states that even if you have an objection to the tax or the duties that has been raised against you, before you can even raise that objection, you need to pay. So
if I can seek clarification from this point.
Bobby, do clarify.
The report that we have from the OSP's office does not indicate that it was a tax assessment levied against her. The regime under Act 915, the Revenue Administration Act, is completely different from the regime under the Office of Special Prosecutors Act.
Please, Mr. Allow Bobby to make his point, and then you can come in.
I'm asking for the purposes of education, because our discussion is based on the information that is out there in the public. Now, we are dealing with the report, the investigative report of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. From experience with dealing with the GRA, tax matters, if the GRA raises a tax assessment and served on you, and you want to object, like you rightly said, under the Act 915, in respect of import duties, you would have to pay all. But the report that we have is not an issue of a Ghana Revenue Authority levying taxes, assessment. If that is the case, then the opposition will be right. But the report that we have, and I stand to be corrected, Benjamin, does not, the special prosecutor says that it is his investigative work that resulted in the company in question paying that 1 million cedis. And so to say that it is the Ghana Revenue, to bring the Section 42 in this context, would take the attention from the OSP's report. And so if you have the evidence that indeed the Ghana the 1 million cedis was paid to the Ghana Revenue Authority based on a tax assessment, then it changes the dynamics of the question. As it stands now, I have not seen that was actually the position. And Benjamin or your producers may say, or may correct me. So we are dealing, or I was dealing with the fact that the 1 million cedis was paid in response to the operation, the investigations of the special prosecutor, and not a Ghana Revenue, because if it is a tax assessment by the Ghana Revenue Authority, then the issue would not have taken this dynamics. Then the special prosecutor's report would not even have been necessary. There was absolutely nothing for this. There was not the tax, how do we call it? Assessment will not jump from being a pure tax issue to being an issue that borders on criminality. Okay. Unless you have actually concluded the regime provided under the Revenue Administration Act. And so if the position is that the 1 million Ghana cedis was paid because it was a tax assessment that was served on the company, and then the company has objected to that tax assessment, and in compliance with the Act 915, it decided to pay all of it, then let that position be clear. But if the 1 million cedis or over was paid in response to the activities of the special prosecutor, then it will not be fair to say that Section 42 would cover that it does not mean that it's we are talking about two different regimes. Criminal investigations and tax assessment. They are completely two different regimes. So if the 1 million cedis was paid because GRA was doing its work and not the work of the special prosecutor, let that be known to the public so that the discussion.
Thank you very much, Bobby. So I'm sure you get a clarification there that it's born from the OSP's report and not the GRA.
Benjamin, if you allow me to
that was actually Samuel. There are two of us on the show.
Okay, Samuel, if you allow me to make the case, you really understand it. By law, the OSP cannot, I repeat, cannot assess tax or ask anybody to pay a tax. The only institution in Ghana that is mandated by law for revenue mobilization of import and export duties is customs.
Well, but
let's get that clear.
If I may, this is to help the discussion, because you are saying
you are just interjecting. Is the conversation?
No, hold on. You've made a point.
The confines of the law. So
I'll let you make your point, but you've made a point there that it is only the OSP cannot ask anybody to pay taxes. The OSP did not say that I've asked hold on. Let me ask my question. You can add it to your answer. The OSP says that I've done my thorough investigations. I've realized that she was giving some reduction that she was not supposed to have been given, but for influence that she wields. So I'm saying that if you say the OSP asked her to pay taxes, that's not the case. The OSP investigated to see that there was some down payment that was not supposed to have been done, and that's why that money had been paid. So the discussion should be put in that context.
No, the conversation.
I normally would not do this, but because
we should limit the conversation.
All right, Bobby.
Bobby, let Amfusefa finish, and then I'll bring you in, okay, to make your point. Yeah.
You see, we should limit this conversation within the confines of the law and within laws. Let's stop thinking we should keep an open mind. Okay, number one, it is only customs that can assess taxes on import that comes into this country. Number two, the OSP by law cannot change the decision of customs when it comes to advance ruling. Let's make it clear. It is clear. Section 12, subsection 9 of the Act, 891, the Customs Act. It is only the Commissioner General that can reverse a ruling. That is the ruling of reducing the benchmark value by 5 to 10% for the company, La Bianca. Number three, the special prosecutor has no right to interfere.
Hello, Mr. Amfosefa. Are you still with us?
Of customs.
Okay. Go ahead.
Now, that is also made clear by the Supreme Court decision between Ransford France and the Electoral Commission, which the businessman was seeking to challenge the administrative discretion of the EC. So even the ruling that the Customs Division of GRA gave on behalf of La Bianca, the SP has no authority and no right to reverse it. It can only be reversed by customs. So,
well, the connection to Mr. Amfosefa seems not to be stable. Your connection keeps breaking.
Can you hear me?
Please make your point briefly so we can move on.
So I was saying, the OSP cannot even reverse the decision, the administrative decision of the Commissioner General. So it was the Commissioner General himself that reversed the decision of approving or granting that 5 to 10% waiver or reduction in the value for La Bianca. So it was based on the revision of the decision by the Commissioner General of Customs that the additional taxes or the short collections were calculated for the company. Hence, the calculation was done by the GRA, not the OSP's office. You see, if we don't get the conversation right and position it within the context of the law, and we don't give an open mind to understand
let me, Amfosefa, hold on there. Now, the Act of the Office of the Special Prosecutor says, the object of the office says, A.
Exactly.
Investigate and prosecute specific cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses. B. Recover the proceeds of corruption and corruption-related offenses. And C. Take steps to prevent corruption. So, from this object of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, where lies your argument that he didn't have the capacity to do what he's just done?
And please make that submission. Please make that submission very brief.
I've given you the Supreme Court's decision that the number one, and I've also given you the Act of Customs, section 12, subsection 9. That states it is only the Commissioner General that can reverse the ruling of an advance, the decision of an advance ruling. So it was the Commissioner General that probably upon hindsight reversed the ruling they have made already. And the reversal is what culminated into additional calculation or the short collection or the shortfalls within duties, with the duty that Bianca was supposed to pay.
All right.
Hence, the check for the payment was issued to the Customs Division of the AGR.
All right.
So it falls squarely within Section 42(5) of the Revenue Administrative Act that I quoted.
All right.
That is what I wanted.
It is clear, Mr. Amfosefa. For the sake of time, Mr. Amfosefa, please, we have to have a conversation. It is clear that we are not at idem, like the lawyers would say. We don't. Our minds have not come together. We are not in agreement on this. Bobby, I have to bring in Guildfred Esiama, but I want to give you some 40 seconds because I know you have a response. Make it very brief so we move on.
I want to ask Mr. Amfosefa just a question with your leave and with your permission, because he seems to have more information than the rest of us. The reversal by the Commissioner General, was it done before the OSP started his investigations? Was it done during the investigations of the OSP? Or was it done after the OSP has completed its investigation in respect of this same LaBianca transaction? If he can answer that question.
Very interesting question. Mr. Amfosefa, can you quickly answer that? Do you know?
You see, I don't know. So I can.
You do not know.
If you do not know that answer, then you cannot say that the payment was done as a result of a tax assessment. Because in your
I know for a fact the payment was issued. The payment was issued to the Customs Division of the GRA.
You said it was in respect of an appeal that has been lodged against a tax.
If we have time, we can discuss this and situate it within the context of the law. But it seems you don't have time, so you don't even give me the opportunity to even quote the law and explain.
Okay. All right.
Let us situate all our conversations within the context of the law.
Right.
And we'll even find out.
Gentlemen, hold your fire. Hold your fire. Hold your horses. Bobby, hold your horses. Dennis, also hold your horses. We also have Guildfred Esiama of the CDD. I know you have a few questions for him as well.
No, Gilbert, thank you very much for joining us here. Now, we know that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has the mandate to prosecute cases involving politically exposed persons. What do you make of his involvement in investigating LaBianca Company Limited?
Thank you. I think the OSP clearly established why LaBianca qualified to be a politically, the owner of LaBianca qualified to be a politically exposed person. So he proceeded on the investigation after establishing that this woman qualifies to be a politically exposed person before he went in to investigate. So I think that basis was clearly established in the initial stages of the investigations of the OSP before he went out to investigate this company.
So it means that there's no argument about whether or not the OSP had the capacity to do what he did. What about the payment of 1 million cedis from LaBianca Company Limited?
Well, as the lawyers have said, I don't think I have much more to add to it. The woman admitted, and as clearly stated in the report, she was well represented when she was undergoing all those investigations at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. She agreed, she has paid, and so there are no questions about whether the woman admitted that there was some wrongdoing on her part in collision with the Customs Division, the man, Mr. Eduche or so, who fronted this kind of engagement. And there are clear issues here, which maybe, if time permits, we can interrogate further.
Sure. We'll get into some of those clear issues, but are you saying that you told the standpoint of Bobby Banton that once she made the payment under the guidance of a counsel, it was tantamount to a tacit admission that she was guilty? Is that what you're saying?
Well, on the surface of the argument or the evidence, we can't think otherwise. I think Mr. Amfo Sefa was trying to put something in, which I also disagree and agree with Bobby, that the route that he was trying to take to defend, the payment as being a requirement, because once there are issues raised against your tax, or there are disputes, you have to pay it. The office of the special prosecutor is different, and from the investigation we don't know, it is not established that the woman paid this money to the customs division because they had raised issue. And clearly, if you look at the office of the special prosecutor the report, it shows that even the man who fronted this has not agreed that he admitted, has not agreed that he did something wrong. So clearly, there is no case, and it appears what Mr. Sefa is saying is clearly out of the picture. I totally disagree with him.
Okay. Now, what are the critical issues with this whole matter that we would have to point out?
One, the issues about the potential conflict of interest, it goes beyond just this issue, and I think it is something that we should work towards. It's not about actual conflict of interest. It's even about the potential, the likelihood that there will be a conflict of interest. And in cases of conflict of interest, the best thing to do is to even prevent it. Just prevent it from happening, because the moment you do that and people perceive that there is a likelihood of conflict of interest, it's in a way undermining the trust that people have even in public institutions, and it also undermines good governance. Again, there are clear issues about the exercise of discretion of public officers, and I think Bobby has touched on all these issues. The law goes to Parliament, is withdrawn, and now we don't know where the stage where the law is being considered. And if you give public officials a lot of discretion, which may affect the public purse, we should find a way of regulating how they exercise those discretion. And you can see clearly in the report where the special prosecutor is saying the woman applied between 50 and 80%. Per the advice of the technical board, it was rejected. But then again, we don't know of any other application before Mr. Duce went ahead and granted the woman this relief between 5 and 10%. Where was the application? Who applied for the 5 to 10% when the initial application had already been rejected? So clearly, it means that if we don't block the loopholes, if we don't tighten the rules or the framework under which public officials exercise their discretion, then we are doomed forever. So we think those are issues that we need to address. Again, when issues of corruption involve high-profile public officials, we want authorities to pay more serious attention to those issues.
Interesting. So that's a Guilfred who is with the CDD there. You can also join us on our social media platform with your thought on this particular matter. Ben.
So quite a number of issues that come to play here. Mensa Thompson is executive director of ASEPA. You still are with us and you've put out that statement. But how do you react to, because even as we talk about Madame Hene and La Bianca and the managing director as well, there's also Colonel Damwa of the Customs Division who is in there. And he makes a case. He says that this is a mere suggestion, suggesting a witch hunt by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. He says this is being done with malicious intent. He talks about a certain Akurugu whom the Special Prosecutor had wanted seconded to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And then he is saying that, that is Colonel Damwa, is saying that, guess what? There is bad blood between us, and Kisia Jabeng is merely trying to indict my deputy and me. Now, what picture does that paint? Does that not also mean that we should be interrogating the motive or the actions of the Special Prosecutor?
Well, to the extent that the actions of the special prosecutor was based on not just an insider decision by the OSP to go into the matter, but it was based on a petition submitted by a citizen who, or let's call the person a whistleblower, who has raised concern. And so the special prosecutor was only acting on a petition. And so that argument will fall very flat in any proper interrogation. But quickly, I think that Mr. Amfosefa sought to, raise certain issues on the back of the law, which for me, he was doubling in things. I think he should leave the legal things for the people with the legal brains to interrogate, because he was messing up the case for a lot of the people involved in this matter. Based on his own argument, the special prosecutor receives a petition, goes into an investigation. Then, based on his argument, Customs, based on the investigation triggered by the OSP, recovers money. That alone in itself indicts the officials there through the processes which he was alluding to in the how do you call it, the Customs Act. You see, so clearly, the problem there and the excuses that is being given by Canada Moore and the innuendos of the special prosecutor being a small boy is neither here nor there. That the special prosecutor want to destroy him is neither here nor there. I think all these things are things we can discard at this moment. Rather, let's focus on the
in law, and Bobby Banson will tell you, that's why we have the principle of audi alteram partem. Listen to the other side. If it's something that you may take for granted, but what if there were proof? And I'm saying, what if there were proof that maybe it was out of some vindictiveness? How would you feel? I mean, put yourself on the other end. How would you feel?
Well, I think that the first question you should ask is that the special prosecutor has the powers to do what he did. If he didn't have the powers, then no matter what vindictiveness that he may perceive against these individuals, he couldn't do anything. The second question is, was there an issue of wrongdoing or perceived wrongdoing? If there was no wrongdoing, no matter how much vindictive the special prosecutor is against you, he won't find anything. And so that argument should also be set aside. The critical issue that we must be interrogating here is, how did this happen? How did we get here? Why is one person being given so much power to be able to influence such a decision or the acquisition of such a large sums of tax waiver, to the detriment of the market or other competitors? How did this happen? And the principle of audi alteram partem had been satisfied by the investigation of the special prosecutor when, he did not just get up and say, look, I've received these allegations and so I'm indicting you. He did an investigation, interrogated all the individuals involved in the presence of their counsel. Based on that, monies were recovered. He issued a report. The principle of audi alteram partem has been satisfied. And so if all these arguments that these people are putting out today, the question as an outsider I will ask is, did they put forth the same argument during the interrogation at the office of the special prosecutor? They had every opportunity during the investigative processes to make their case across. Did they take advantage of that? Did they exhaust that? Why are they bombarding us with excuses? Because at the end of the day, I'm just counting on the investigative report by the office of the special prosecutor and saying that, look, based on that and the fact that some monies have been recovered, there has been some wrongdoing. And that report has taken into consideration the account of all these individuals who today are bombarding our ears with excuses. And so they can't blame anybody for they not taking advantage of the process. The special prosecutor had the power to do what he did. He was right. When he went in, it wasn't a witch hunt. If it was just a mere witch hunt, he wouldn't have recovered money. He went in, and based on the instance, he recovered money for the state. And that must be commended. That cannot be labeled as a witch hunt.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, we're grateful for your time. Thank you for having joined this conversation. Maybe we'll catch up again some other time. Let me come to Bobby Banson. From the legal standpoint, 2 quick questions. The first one, if there were proof of any vindictiveness or malice, as Colonel Damois purports, would that have any impact at all on the actions of the OSP? In law, would we detach whatever vindictiveness, assuming there were any, from the legal actions and the pursuit of what is lawful by the Office of the Special Prosecutor? That is question 1. The second question is, you would hear of the Importers and Exporters Association, whose president is Samson Asaki Awengobit, say La Bianca is one of our big, importers, and they've done so well, and this and that. But we feel they have erred in a way. But let's temper justice with mercy. How do you react to that? Is that the way to go? So those 2 questions for you, Bobby.
Remind me if in my answer I forget one of them.
So we could start with vindictiveness and malice and what its impact could be.
Benjamin, we as a country, one of our major issues is what we are facing with the reactions of the so-called powers that be. I have read some social media commentary that is attacking the personality of Mr. Ejabi. Listen, I have not.
They say he's a small boy. He's a small boy.
Yes, I have not always agreed with some of the things he has done in the office of a special prosecutor. But when he was appointed, I was happy because, you see, this is somebody who is an established lawyer, who is established. He's not in the office of a special prosecutor because he doesn't have other work to do. He's not in the office of a special prosecutor because he is a known political apparatchik, let me put it that way, of the ruling government. And I'm using the word known. You understand what I mean? He offered, and I want to think so, to serve his country in that capacity. We are trying to build the institution of the special prosecutor after the first special prosecutor exited in a way and in a manner that is not the subject of our discussion. And so we will need somebody who may not be perfect, may make mistakes, but is sacrificing to create an institution. So my view of his approach is that let's create a strong institution vis-a-vis a strong personality. Now, when you see comments like, oh, he's a small boy, he said he will come after me, I have been here longer than him, then you are seeing that people are focusing on personalities instead of institutions. Now, in the course of his investigations, he said that he contacted or heard the persons who would have been affected by his reports. Now, the law provides for malicious prosecution as a thought, so that if Colonel Damois is of the firm of opinion that, and there has not been any prosecution yet, so that the report or the activities of the special prosecutor is malicious, the law allows for how he will ventilate his grievance. 2, if we have a group that says that this is our biggest or one of our biggest member, and so we should temper justice with mercy. To make that statement is an admission that something has gone wrong. Now, if we say we are tampering justice with mercy, are we doing that only because the company is, for lack of a better word, a big company? We are a country that is supposed to be ruled by law, and everybody is equal before the law, irrespective of how deep your pocket is, your political connections, or who you know. Otherwise, we'll be celebrating 100 years of independence, and we'll still be where we are if we still have this mentality. And that is why I go back to say that over 1 million Ghana cedis has been recovered. Do we know what that 1 million Ghana cedi can do for somebody living in a place where he has no access to potable water? And we are allowing it to go because the person is one of our biggest importers. What of the other competitors? And for me, my argument comes back to that fact, that the complaint to the Special Prosecutor's Office was done by a named person who says that the waivers that this person is getting is affecting competition. So does it mean that this association of exporters or importers, they do not have members who have been affected by these undue exercise of discretion in such a way that not only the country will lose, it is killing other businesses? So should we allow only one company to enjoy all these benefits so that every other company would cease to exist? I do not think that the exercise of discretion to waive certain taxes is meant to be used as a tool to create a monopoly. Other than that, there will not be no country. Then we should leave the country for only so-called big men or big businesses, and there will not be avenues for younger businesses or people who do not have deep pockets to be able to grow their business as well. And so I find those comments very interesting, and an attempt not to help the country build stronger institutions, but rather focusing on stronger personalities. And we will not go anywhere if that is the focus of our body politics.
Bobby, let me just come in here. I wanted to wrap on this. I'll just bring in something brief. We have to move on and talk about affairs and Parliament and all of that. But what you said just reminded me of this quote by Justice Ashok Bhushan, who says, "Justice must be tempered with mercy, but justice cannot be substituted for mercy." Justice must be tempered with mercy, but justice cannot be substituted for mercy. So with that, with the precedent we have now, what do you look forward to seeing as the special prosecutor has signaled he will pursue this matter to its logical conclusion? 30 seconds on that. 30 seconds to Guildfred as well, what you'd like to see, and then we shall move on to the next subject.
I will be very disappointed if there is no criminal prosecution. I will be extremely disappointed.
You'll be very disappointed if there's no criminal prosecution?
Yes, and I'll be disappointed if she still remains as a member of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority. I have my own legal difficulties with Asepe's petition for the president to remove her as a member of Council of State, because...
So you disagree with that one? You disagree with that?
Yes, wait, I'm yet to confirm, or I don't know, you can correct me, if she was elected.
She was elected?
Yes, so
she was elected from the Western region.
If she was elected, I think there may be a difficulty, because the article that makes reference to the president's power to remove makes reference to it uses the word appointed. And if you look at the composition of the Council of State, there are those appointed by the president and there are those that are elected. So I want to think, I stand to be corrected, that the president may not have the authority to remove persons who are elected to the Council of, and may have the authority to remove persons who are appointed. So that I will leave it for the constitutional lawyers, for lack of a better word. But as for the criminal prosecution and her position as a member of the Ghana Ports and Harbour Authority, I'll be surprised if nothing is done about it.
Quickly, Guildfred, on the same point, very quickly as we move on to the next conversation.
Well, we expect all the other agencies, public agencies involved who can help the special prosecutor to do this job to cooperate, as he stated his intention to open this conversation to cover many other issues. So that is one of the expectations. Again, we are also calling for a strengthening of our beneficial ownership regime, which was helpful in identifying the beneficial owners of La Bianca. And I'm sure if we go on identifying many others, it will be very helpful, to us in the fight against corruption. Again, the woman must resign or be sacked. One of them will be better for all of us. Thank you.
Interesting suggestions there. Amfosefa is still with us. Amfosefa, I'm sure you've listened to all the suggestions and all the thoughts shared on this particular subject. Going forward, what will be your concluding remarks on this? What should be the way forward for us in this particular matter?
For us as a chamber, our position is clear. Everything that was done by the Customs Division of the GRA was within the confines of the law. They didn't err. They acted within the confines and that the acts provide, Act 891 section 12. So they didn't err, and we still stand by that position. And the payment of the short collection is not an admission of guilt.
Amfusefa's line is quite
guilt, because short provided for in the section 7 of the same act. Hence, we still stand by that position that we strive.
Well, I think that is where the connection, Mr. Amfusefa, is the problem.
We are grateful to him.
It's
Thank you for
unfortunate
joining us,
that we've had to. We'll have to sew it up there. But we'll retain Bobby Banson. We'll retain Guildfred Esiama of the CDD. And we're also joined by Sami Obeng of the Parliamentary Network Africa. Mr. Obeng, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Great. I like that boisterous response that you just gave. Would you like to start off with him?
Well, Mr. Obeng, let's talk about the reshuffling, because now it's been in the news over the last few days about a potential reshuffle, or people calling on the president to reshuffle his ministers. But the president also says, well, I believe in my team, and I won't budge to all of this planned by the opposition to destabilize my government. What do you make of this happening? Should the president be reshuffling, or should rather be sacking some ministers?
Well, of course, we all know that it's the president's prerogative to decide which members of the public he wants to work with as the one who has been elected by the people of Ghana to lead the country. However, it behoves on us, the people, to also periodically, do an assessment of the president's performance and his entire government's performance, vis-a-vis how it affects our lives, and the things that we do as a people. It is for this reason why I think that, especially around this time, when, you have communication from various ministers, you have individuals who, have been given.
Mr. Obeng?
Hello, can you hear me?
Good. Your line went dead a bit, but it's okay now.
When you have individuals in government who are clearly underperforming, when you have the situation of Ghanaians complaining, bitterly about one industry or the other, when you simply know that there is a challenge within the system, nobody will be convinced when we are told that the team that we have, is an untouchable team, and that a request or suggestions for some reshuffles to be done are equivalent to wanting to destabilize government. I think that that's really a very unfair suggestion from the president. I really do not think that it's only members of the opposition who are asking for some form of reshuffles or changes within the government of Nana Akufo-Addo. And so to say that anybody who makes such suggestion is one that is seeking to destabilize his government is unfair to the electorate and the very people who have actually, put him there to govern right.
But should it be about reshuffling, or it should be about sack? Some have suggested that some ministers do not deserve to be reshuffled. They need to be let go for fresh blood to be introduced to help in the affairs of running the country.
Well, certainly, of course. I mean, a reshuffle may include having some new people brought on board, and that would mean that some people would actually have no place in the government as it currently is. And so, yes, there certainly are some ministers that, in my opinion, and of course, as you hear the conversation that goes on around the country and the commentary on social media, on television, on radio, in various homes, in various public places and all of that, you certainly know that certain people must go. They have served their country well. They have served their country for some time, but there comes a time when, one must give way for additional ideas, especially when, the going has hit a roadblock.
Have we hit a roadblock now? Do you feel it is high time we had a reshuffle and maybe some were even sacked? Recently, we heard from the president who was saying, look, my ministers are performing and he named a number of them, and he says they're all performing, so to speak. Is that what you see?
Well, nobody will convince me that as a country we've not hit a roadblock. And of course, we all have a responsibility, collective responsibility, to join in to, make things better. Because if the country gets better, it gets better for all of us. His Excellency the President, in his very early days, I know that this is a man who believes in the people that he works with. You'll recall that, His Excellency the President started off in a way where even in his speeches, when he described his ministers or when he had to refer to a minister, he describes them with very flamboyant adjectives, touting their credentials and what have you. There are many of them that I doubt if His Excellency the President would use those same flamboyant adjectives, on them now. And that, is even testament to the fact that, many people may have, hit their wits' end and certainly would have to go. I disagree with the president when he says that his ministers, are performing 100%. Of course, there are some people who are doing extremely well, in my opinion. There are some people also who are performing at average levels, but there are some people who, in my opinion, have absolutely no business still being around.
So Mr. Obeng, if I should, put it straight to you, which ministries do you think need tweaking?
Well, so let's look at it from this angle. Now, if you have a country where, you have the people that you have put in helms of affairs give you firm assurances, give industry, the citizens, firm assurances of something that has got to go in a particular way. And at the end, you have things going the other way. And you do not have these same people having the humility to come and say that, look, we guessed wrongly, we anticipated wrongly, things have not gone the way that we had expected things to go. And so please, we want to have you guys rally around with us. Let's join forces and let's get things back in shape together. But rather you have the posturing that suggests that, look, we were not even wrong when we have suggested things in this manner in the past. And so, zip up as the people of Ghana and be there. And this is the kind of posturing that you get in, for example, matters relating to the decision to take off the road tolls, which certainly falls within the ambit of the ministry responsible for roads. You have the same kind of posturing with the whole, e-levy situation, dovetailing into, having to commit ourselves to IMF and what have you. Now, and that goes to the table of the finance ministry. That goes to the table of the finance ministry. To my mind, we should be able to have ministers, individuals, government officials, eating humble pie, coming to the people and saying, look, this is what we thought was going to go. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way we had expected it to go. And so please, bear with us. Or, we know that we don't have a country that has a culture of doing things in a particular manner where people would, decide to let go their positions because they feel that they had failed in one way or the other or had not delivered on what they had promised. And for me, that's the kind of culture that we need to be institutionalizing, and people of Ghana need to be calling for these kinds of things. And that's why I find it unfortunate when anybody suggests that to suggest this is to want to destabilize government.
Let me bring in Bobby Bunsen here. But Bobby, you've had people like Kwadwo Mpiani, former chief of staff during the Kufuor administration, who says that there has to be a reshuffle, and says the president's push on it may cost the NPP in future elections. The president is the one who is like the coach, sitting at the head of the table, looking at how the performance of his ministers. Why mustn't we agree with him that, well, he needs to keep his team together?
The president doesn't pay for fuel at the fuel station. The president doesn't exchange cedis to dollars to import products. When Ghana goes for a loan from the IMF or borrows money from the international market, it is not the president that is paying the cost of it. With all due respect, when the president retires or he leaves his office, his term of office, he's paid quite a handsome amount for working as the president. The people who bear the brunt of all these failures are the ones who are saying that, listen, enough is enough. And I am happy you have quoted a member, a leading member for that matter, of the MPP. And he's not the only one that has also called for reshuffle. I believe reshuffle is a lighter word in the context of the discussion. Plainly, some of the people must go. For me, one is not a matter of even competence, it's a matter of integrity. And I'll say it as it is. In many, should I say, developed democracies, when you have a minister coming out to say, this is the position of government, we will not take this step. And a few days later, the step is taken. Why is the person still in charge of that ministry? It still baffles. I don't understand. It's a matter of integrity. And yesterday I was in this discussion with someone, and he said, and I don't know, Benjamin or your producers can confirm, that in one government, in the previous government, a minister promised that a badge would arrive at a certain time, and it did not, or it came 1 week later. The person resigned or he was sacked because he had to keep his word. Why is it different with members of this very government? And we are not talking about only one minister. We have more than one ministers who have given us their word, and it's gone against what has actually happened, and they don't care. It's sad. We cannot reduce our governance structure or our democracy or we cannot have our governance without any form of integrity. And for me, it goes beyond MPP NDC politics, because again we have a situation where we have almost a hanging parliament, like we call it. So we cannot say that as far as this government is concerned, there's a clear-cut majority. And so you see that there's a sizable number of electorates who are swing voters, and they vote on principles, not on purely party lines. So if you have a government where members of the government say one thing and the other thing happens, and they say that I cannot leave, I'm a father who cannot leave his kids. I mean, who says that? Is it that there is no other person who can manage that portfolio? It baffles my mind, but I mean, it's like you said, it's the coach. We have no option than to wait till the end of the contract we have given him. If we are not happy with the contract we have given him, we would decide not to renew the contract, or we would decide to renew the contract. And remember, when a coach of a team is sacked, it is not only the coach that is sacked. In most instances, all his backroom staff are sacked. And so we would have to wait and see between now and the next contract renewal, and I'm using this because you use the coach analogy, comes up, we will decide what we will do. But it seems that integrity is being lost on us as a country. It's not about party, because like you said, you have people from even within the MPP, and he said those people are looking for jobs. Really?
Anyway, let me bring in Guilfred here. Guilfred, the whole discussion about reshuffling is to ensure that, like we see, things will get better. The president says, give me time, I'll fix it. The finance minister has even stated that, look, we will fix the whole issue about the economy within the shortest possible time at the end of the program with the IMF. Do you, from what the president has said, from the pressure coming in, do you foresee the president bowing to pressure to reshuffle his ministers? Or do you foresee a president who will be sticking to his guns?
Well, I don't even want to tow that angle. I don't think the president will be bowing to pressure. I think it's incumbent on the president, a democratically elected president, to be responsive to the call of their people. So a lot of Ghanaians are saying things are not going right. And if you look at the Afrobarometer report, you can see it just didn't happen post-COVID. 2017 evaluation of the government's performance in service delivery in terms of provision of infrastructure, in terms of provision of educational needs, health needs, and other assessments, there was a decline in the positive ratings for the government. When you come to 2022, it worsened. Even the worst you can see in some of these public perception or opinion polls that we have done over the years. So clearly, people have issues about the way things are being managed. They have issues about even the direction of the country. So the president is not bowing to any pressure. The president only has a mandate, and he has that responsibility as a democratically elected leader to listen to his people. So he must listen, and it's not about bowing to pressure. No, I think the president must listen to what the people are saying.
What if he decides not to listen, like he's indicated? His team is performing, and he'll stick with them.
I'm afraid it undermines the long-term sustainability of our democracy, because people put their trust in political leaders to solve the challenges and the problems that they face on a daily basis. So when people give this trust to politicians like the president to manage their affairs, and they can't wait for 4 years before they take another step, and they are giving you feedback, Mr. President, the boat is sinking, do something about it. And you want to remain adamant and say, well, you give me the power, and so far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to listen to anyone, even though I'm not going to tell you that I'm not listening. Then the next time that people present themselves for these positions, people stand for public office. What do you expect people to think? What do you expect the public, how do you expect the public to react? Because they know these people, once we give them the mandate and even things are not going right way, they won't listen to us. They will do as they wish. So I think it's not just about bowing to pressure, and it's not about the president exercising his prerogative powers of appointment or reshuffling or sacking, but it's about what the people think and what the people needs to be done. Democracy, we shouldn't forget, is about the people.
Okay. Samuel Bing, there's been discussions about the fact that MPs must not be made ministers. But in that discussion should also be made looking at the public wage bill, that if you take people who are not in parliament, it means that you are adding more onto the wage bill. If you take people who are members of parliament already, like the constitution says, you kind of add a little to it. What do you make of this thing called by people who say we should not make MPs ministers necessarily?
Well, we have seen how that situation is biting at us as a nation. I mean, you have individuals who are elected to become legislators who are supposed to be in parliament representing their people, overseeing the executive branch and making laws. And yet you have these same people who have had to cut themselves so thin, sometimes affect, or most times affects their attendance to parliament. And you know, this whole thing is becoming very unsustainable. You have a situation where whoever is president of the country has his hands tied behind him to select from a certain pool of people because the constitution says so, even if he has the option of, you know, spreading, you know, it. Now, I really do not think that it comes to the issue of how much cost it brings us if we decide to choose ministers out of, you know, parliament. Because you can have a government who will be choosing ministers out of parliament if the constitution allows it, and will still be able to make a lot of savings than a government who decides that he's choosing ministers in parliament so that they're able to play the dual role, yet he's choosing, you know, multiple dozens of ministers and bloating the expense that gets built up on the public purse. And so for me, it's not an either-or situation. It is the fact that we are seeing that the system is not working with this whole suggestion or constitutional provision of having ministers, majority of them coming from parliament. It is not working. It is not providing us the kind of dividend that we want. Members of parliament themselves know it. The presidency knows it. Successive presidents, successive governments knows it. And we must start having conversations around it that are not just left on radio and television programs like we're having today, but that are seeing some level of action so that we can be able to right the wrongs that our Constitution 1992 provided for us.
So what you're calling for is an amendment to that provision in the Constitution to make way for the president to appoint ministers who are not MPs necessarily, right?
I think that and many other things certainly needs amendments in our Constitution. And unfortunately for us, these are not new conversations. Even in the constitutional amendment processes, these things came up.
All right. Gilfred, you are with the CDD, and I'm sure you've done works in how people think about MPs being made ministers. What do you make of this subject? Whether or not MPs should be made ministers?
Well, it's very troubling. When you follow the various speakers of parliament, they keep lamenting how the absence of MP ministers undermines the functions of the legislature. So that is worrying from that angle. But I even want to go beyond just MPs being made ministers to even MPs being appointed to public boards. MPs who are supposed to play oversight responsibility over these boards are appointed to be members of the boards. How do they effectively oversee the workings of these public agencies? So I think these are key and fundamental challenges that undermines the core functions, either the lawmaking function or the oversight responsibility of our legislature. And it's about time we work towards that. Even beyond these core functions, I think maybe it's also about the numbers. How many ministers should we even be having as a country? You just glance through the rest of the countries on the continent, and you'll be amazed whether we are a special country, whether we live in a certain paradise and we have everything that we want. That's why we keep appointing these ministers. Where on the continent do we find many ministers being appointed in a single administration? Go to Kenya, you'll be marveled. Kenya, 21 ministers. Nigeria, look at Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire. So in fact, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any logical or economic sense for us to continue to appointing many ministers, people who have no work to do or no business to do in these ministries, and we keep paying them. And at the same time, it undermines some of their functions that they have been properly elected to perform. So I think as a country, we need to take a serious stance on this matter, even on the number of ministerial appointments that the president has to make, and also involving the members of parliament within the legislature.
But on the numbers, when this government had a lot of ministers in its first term, the economy was moving in the right direction. When they reduced, we're in bad times. Isn't that an effect there that we need to consider, that with the numbers they achieved a lot than with the fewer ones? Or
well, I will go on the side of the public, and again I can refer you to Afrobarometer report. It's not so. It's not so. If you look at Afrobarometer report, the perception about the performance of the government in terms of service delivery, in terms of management of the economy, in terms of fighting corruption and all, it dropped from 2017 to 2019 and further declined, when we went to the field to ask them in 2020. So it's not the whole picture that the numbers were benefiting the people.
Okay.
What if these numbers were benefiting few pockets? So people haven't seen a lot of improvements in their lives, and so when you keep appointing large number of people into the administration, I think rather it undermines the public purse. You are not keeping the public purse. It is excessive. the countries that are doing well around us are not appointing as much ministers as we are doing. So what does it tell us? Does it tell us that we are not efficient or we don't have efficient people to do the work and we have to appoint a lot of people before they can do or even not even match up to what our colleagues are doing when they are appointing few numbers? Cote d'Ivoire, look at Cote d'Ivoire, look at Kenya. So I think it is unjustifiable and we shouldn't continue keeping this line of argument.
Okay. So what's your expectation from now to when would you expect to see a reshuffle? And what will be your reaction if you see none?
Well, my reaction if I see none, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, the president is not standing for any other election again. He is done. But as Bobby said, we need people of integrity in public office. It's not about what you benefit and what name, what legacy do you leave for yourself when we give you the power, when we give you our trust to rule us. I think that should matter to the president and whoever is concerned about the management of our country.
Thank you very much. Gilfred Esiama is a research fellow with the CDD. Thanks for joining us. Bobby Benson, let me give you a minute to give us a wrapping comment on this one. What is your expectation like?
I would rather say what is my hope.
Okay.
The expectation as it stands now, I have none. I mean, the man has said it. He believes in his team. He will not change. I don't think he will change his mind. But my hope is that those that are in charge will do their best to turn the economy around. That is my hope. And it's whether it's NDC that is in power or it's MPP that is in power, whoever is in charge of our economy or our country must be able to give us a governance that we will be proud of. The countries that are doing well are not better than us in terms of human personnel. It's a matter of leadership. And so, I mean, we are not the only countries that used to import from Ukraine to keep saying that it is the Ukraine-Russia war that is affecting us. And so we must, as a country or as leaders, put in place measures or start doing things right that will let the economy and our people have the benefit of proper leadership. That is my hope. As for expectations, I have none.
All right. So you don't expect to see any reshuffle, per what you said, right?
I mean, for the first time, I was hoping there would be.
Okay.
And so I was quite disappointed when that interview came out the way it did. I was really hoping, and I almost, had a bet that, listen, there would be a reshuffle this time because things are at a head. But it is what it is.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm grateful to you. Bobby Benson is a legal practitioner there. Samuel Bing, let me wrap with you. What will be your concluding remarks on this? Hello, Samuel Bing. Samuel Bing.
Now.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So, first of all, I mean, we have a situation going to happen, yet eventually they happen. And for me, on the back of that, I wouldn't be surprised if a reshuffle happens, although the president says that it's not going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised also if he sticks to his gun and continues to maintain his people just to be able to prove a point that, I trust in my people. Our country must not suffer. And that is the signal that must go to the president that, we cannot settle for anything that would make us continuously, go in a decline.
All right. Samuel Bing, thank you very much. He is the Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa. This is still the AM show. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with an interesting conversation with the BBC's Director of News. Stay with us here. Now, Irene Ansari is the HR Director for BBC News, who sits on the news board, and she is responsible for all human resource development and management activities and decisions across the news department. We'll have a conversation with her here on the AM show. Stay with us. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back from the break. This is still the AM show, and let's talk about HR and talk about the future of work. What sort of skills do you need to succeed in the next, decade and over? Let's speak to someone who has been an HR director for BBC News and sit on the news board. She's responsible for all human resource development and management activities and decisions across the news department. She's the executive coach, founder, and CEO of Calvin Clay People Development and has over 20 years of experience working with big corporations. Irene is attending the African Leadership Academy's gathering on 13th August to deliver a keynote on an African vision of the future of work. It's a great interaction to have and great to have you. Good morning, Irene. Kindly unmute so I can follow you,
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Excellent.
How are you doing?
As I was saying, apologies. Good morning to all your viewers. Good morning to you.
Great to have you here. Now, it's interesting for us to talk about future of work because we need to understand what we need as people to succeed in tomorrow's future, because I'm not sure the skills that we need to succeed today will be the same skill set that we need to succeed tomorrow. So let's talk about it. How different will tomorrow be from today?
My goodness. I mean, we're sort of getting a peak already. We talk a lot about, automation, innovation, robotics, doing more with less. We still need to be really creative. So I think for us, it is about the skills around innovation, digitalization, around robotics, around being creative and different, and IT skills as well as communications. So there is a lot that we need to do to really participate in the future of work.
If I do follow, which means that in tomorrow's future, we will not be having anything like I am a mechanic or say I am a screenwriter. Is that it? Or there will still be those, but an enhanced versions of those?
Absolutely correct. The point is, we are still human beings, and we set the agenda. So your examples around, let's say, mechanics or screenwriters, of course, we will absolutely need them. But it is now at a different level. We're going to find that lots of people, if you're a mechanic, it will be a different type of mechanic. It will be a mechanic. Nowadays, if you look at it with our cars, we go into garages and they put it straight on the computer. And then they tell you what's wrong with it from there. So that ability to have those IT skills, those digital skills, to probably solve complex issues that will involve robotics will be the new future, for example, for a mechanic. What's important for screenwriters will be, we still need creativity, we still need communicators, but the way in which we communicate, the platforms in which we communicate will be different and will be required to have a level of multi-skills to be able to do that.
Interesting. So how do I, for example, a journalist, a TV presenter, how do I get myself ready for tomorrow's environment of work?
Brilliant question, brilliant question. And I think it is a combination of multi-skilling, right? So for example, you're a journalist, you present, that is already a multi-skill. And maybe it is that you present on one particular topic or you research on one particular topic. You will have to be much more versatile. Thinking about the platforms that we use at the moment, we are speaking here through Zoom and digitalization. We don't sit down and watch the 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock news. It's on the go, right? So that ability to be able to serve your audiences, your viewers, different formats is what's really going to be important for the journalist of the future.
What about the mechanic? In Ghana, we have a lot of carpenters, a lot of masonry workers, a lot of fashion designers. What about them? What do they need to do to be ready for tomorrow?
Well, I think, again, I think it will be about the tools that are used. So, for example, maybe before, the creativity of a fashion designer that writes, pen on paper, they're carrying an iPad. Maybe they've got already particular designs and then they just press 1 or 2 buttons with their digitalization and all of a sudden they've got that pattern that they need instead of having to do that from scratch. So maybe it's also the machinery that's used. Before there is a particular way, it may need somebody to sit in front of the machinery. Today or tomorrow, it may not need that. It may be remote. And things like that. And I think that is a great example for a fashion designer. And as I said, for the mechanic, it is about understanding technology. I think technology plays a significant role in our future.
Very interesting conversation we're having with Irene here. She is director of HR who sits on the news board there for the BBC. So I'm told that tomorrow you'll be delivering a keynote address on this discussion we are having. What are the key highlights of this keynote address that you'll be presenting that myself, my viewers should be interested in?
Absolutely. I think for me, there are 3 key points. Our vision as Africans and how we can be ready for the future of work. I want to take time to explain to people, just as we have today, what does that mean? What does that mean for us who are here today? And what does that mean for us tomorrow? And for us as a continent, how do we prepare? We will have billions of resources on the continent. We really are able to participate, but it will require us to get ready now for that future. And then I also want to touch on leadership. In able to do any of this, to participate, it means that we need to think about our personal leadership, we need to think about our macro leadership, and we need to present ourselves ready. What's our unique proposition for us as individuals, for us as Africans, to really compete on the global scale? For now, for example, we have remote working. Potentially in the future, you could work anywhere in the world. Why do you choose Irene? Why do you choose someone else? What is unique? Because we'll all have the skills. We may all have the degrees. We may all have the training. What makes us different? So I really want to spark our imagination about how we can prepare ourselves to participate.
Happy you mentioned that you will be talking about leadership. It looks like we as Africans have never been ready for any of the evolutions that have come. Where must we start from if we really want to get ready for tomorrow as Africans? You've spoken about leadership. Where do you think should be the starting point?
Well, I think, like everything, we start from our education, don't we? We start from our education, we start from our systems that we already have in country. The Africa Leadership Academy is really progressing that agenda, as well as many of our other institutions. And for me, when I say that and around our education, I'm also talking about not just the textbook, but what's outside of the textbook. What are the skills that we actually need? Problem solving, analytical skills. How do we create innovation, systems thinking, design thinking? All of those aspects are important in our journey. And so I think we start at the beginning there, and then we have a roadmap and a strategy and a plan as to how we're going to deliver that.
Usually when you talk about, systems thinking, robotics and all of that, it looks like it's only available to a section of the citizenry who can afford it. But we're looking at getting all of us prepared for tomorrow. What must be the way out to ensure that majority, if not all of us, are being prepared in that regard, having access to this kind of education?
No, I think, really fair point, but I would say that we can all access, right? So, there will be some of us that will be, engineers, as we say. There'll be some of us that we can use our critical thinking in everyday life. It is about solutions orientation. You know, we have many resources on the continent, as we know, and we can think about everyday problems, solutions, and how we can provide that. So I think for me, that access, that baseline access, is available to all. And then as we sort of climb up over our educational ladder, you know, some of us will be more interested in one particular aspect than others. So I think
I was asking that question because, for example, robotics in Ghana, you know, a person who is in a remote area will find it difficult having anything to do with, you know, robotics. But there's a case where we need to prepare that kind of person for tomorrow as well. It means that if he or she is not lucky, she won't be prepared in that regard for tomorrow.
Yeah, I understand the point that's made, but when we talk about the future of work, we also talk about, you know, robotics and innovation is just one aspect. You know, going back to what we said, fashion designer, entrepreneurs, even if you're an entrepreneur for the future of work tomorrow, the way people do business from an e-commerce perspective, we used to go in shops. We now go online. We now use our phones. How can you, as an entrepreneur, prepare for the future of work? You need to understand, at least we have a smartphone. Nowadays, we have really easy steps to take us through. So I don't want us to feel that, oh my goodness, I have to be an engineer to participate. Not at all. I can be a hairdresser, a makeup artist. What do I need to do to set myself apart from others? That's what's really important.
So it's open for all of us? Anybody can?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is open for everyone because, you know, the world is evolving. The world is changing. Who would have thought, you know, look at COVID and what it brought and the changes it brought. We never thought some of these changes would even exist. But the reality is all of us are participating now.
I'm sure someone who joined us now will be asking, so where is this going to happen? How can I be part of it?
It's going to happen, as I understand, at Elisa Hotel. You can contact the African Leadership Academy and register. And I look forward to having the conversation and the keynote address.
All right. Thank you very much. But just before we wrap this conversation, what will be your concluding remarks for all of us watching at this time?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think, you know, the future of work, leadership, and how we as individuals, we as Africans can participate is extremely important. I leave us with thinking about you and your own personal leadership and how you can participate. Use the opportunity to kind of do your own research in your field of expertise. Anything from an entrepreneur right through to a corporate person, we can all participate, and we need to come together as Africa as a continent to think about our strategic plan for the way forward. It is bright, it is exciting, and let's all participate.
Arina, sorry, thank you so much for joining us. Is there any local language you can manage? Which of them?
I can manage Chi, but my Chi is some way kakra.
So if I say it is saying.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, me da say why? Me da say obaye. All right then. So that's Arina Sari. She is HR director with the BBC. She sits on the BBC News board. This is still the AM show. Now, how about treating yourself to a summer holiday in South, shortened for South Africa? Come journey to South Africa for a good time in our beautiful country. And indeed, South is really beautiful. Get to know the locals and enjoy our languages. If you're looking to let your head down and relax and you're just in the mood for some fun, family-friendly adventure, South Africa has got everything you need. Oh, and oh boy, when I was in Joburg, I really said, wow, this is where I need to be. And Durban, you need to go to South Africa. This summer, Wazani La. Come this side and experience a holiday worth talking about. Hello Ghana, happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink. Puma soft drinks, and Awake drinking water from Casapreco Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake drinking water. Test the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780# option 2. Yes, *780# option 2, and follow the prompt on all networks for free, no charge. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. Don't waste time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy drink, Puma soft drinks, and Awake drinking water, and let's Storm Qatar this World Cup. It's your time. Let's win. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Terms and conditions apply. We'll take a quick break. When we come, your thoughts will be picked here on the show. Stay with us. All right, now this is an interactive show, so your thought matters to us, and that's why you need to share your thought on whatever we've discussed. We've been talking about the La Bianca Group Limited and the OSP findings against that company. We've also been talking about reshuffling and just now about the future of world of work. What are your thoughts on the three issues? Feel free. Let's have a very good conversation here. 0302 21 16 91. 0302 21 16 91. The number is on your screen there. Have your say. When you call us, kindly lower the volume on your TV and let's have a good conversation here. You can also call us on 0302 21 16 92. Do give us a call and let's take your thought on the issues that we've discussed here. The OSP and its findings against La Bianca Company Limited, the Chamber of Freight and Trade have said there was nothing wrong and that GRA and La Bianca did what the law permits them to do, and so there is no wrongdoing with that. Again, there have been calls for the president to reshuffle his ministers. The president says his ministers are doing what he expects them to do. What do you think as a Ghanaian who is being governed by this team? Let's have your say. 0302 21 1691. Sam is reaching us from Adabraka. Sam, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Let me hear your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, my thought is, if what I read about this man, the La Bianca man, I think he should proceed it straightforward.
Okay. Sam says La Bianca, the CEO, that Madam Jacqueline Boa Sumahine should be prosecuted. So that's from Sam from Adabraka there. You can also join us with your thought. The numbers are on your screen. Give us a call and let's have your thought here on the issues that we've discussed. Issues pertaining the OSP's finding about the La Bianca Company Limited. We've also spoken about the reshuffling. We are now going to hear from Peter from Kaswa. Peter, good morning. Let's have your thought.
Good morning. Please, I want to talk about this La Bianca issue.
That's fine.
I want to let them know that the country is not for them. You see, the country is not for them, so they should put their personal differences aside and focus on the right thing to do for us.
Okay.
And also about the reshuffling, I want the government to also look at the health sector. There's a lot of corruption inside there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Joe from Spintex. Good morning, sir. Let's have your say.
Reshuffling. The president himself should be reshuffled because speaking on that issue in such a manner, I don't think he's taking Ghanaians for granted, and we Ghanaians need to get more serious about how we hold our leaders accountable. I think that is what is going to help we Ghanaians because the leaders are taking us for granted. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe from Spintex. Sule from Ada. Sule, good morning. Let's have your thought.
Okay, please. I want to say a little bit about the reshuffling of the ministers.
Go ahead, sir.
Please, the education minister and the health minister. Please, I don't know what they have to, and the president have to reshuffle them at least to appoint new ones to replace them. That is the future of the country we have. And if they are not up to expectation, why don't you reshuffle them? Please. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Seidu is joining us from Bole. Seidu, good morning.
From Bole district. I want to talk on the issue of chaplain. Good morning. This is Abdel Fattah from Malawi. I want to talk on the issue of the chaplain.
Kindly go ahead.
It's a shocking revelation. Why should propagandists be talking about reshuffling when I have my team and I know the player who is qualified to play? Then you want to show me who to also bring. This is Akakpo and his people. He knows what they are doing. And he knows.
Well, Seidu, thank you very much. Tijani is joining us from Koforidua. Tijani, good morning. Let's have your thoughts.
Good morning, sir. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I think the reshuffling is not a bad thing to request by Ghanaians because personally, I have a very, very big issue. I think JoyNews can take it up. We have students who completed the various health institutions in Ghana and started their rotation on national semester as far back last year, September. And as of now, they don't even have financial clearance to pay their allowance. These ministers have to sit up and make sure that these issues are solved for these students. Because we can't have a health minister and these students have been doing national service for 1 year and they've not been paid. How are these students surviving? So please, reshuffling is in the best place. Our finance minister and health minister should excuse the state and let's have new people to channel the country for us.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me go to the Volta region where David is standing by. David, good morning. Unfortunately, we've lost David there. Okay, David, I guess you are still on. Good morning. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, David.
Hello.
Hello, David. Let's hear your thoughts.
I'm Ben from Kumasi.
Okay, Ben. Let's have your thought.
Happy morning for your show. Very good morning on your show. You see, this president is bankrupt of people. He has said that he has the men and they have the men and etc. etc. If you look at what is happening now, you will see that they are bankrupt of the men. That is why he is saying that these men are doing the work. He's bankrupt. Everything that he's doing now, you will see that he is bankrupt. He doesn't have any person to replace those people.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts. That's how we call it a day on the AM show. Of course, it's a Friday. Do enjoy your weekend, but be moderate in how you enjoy the weekend and keep watching JoyNews because we have a lot for you. Up next is the JoyNews desk. Good morning.